Beautiful.
I appreciate your family stuff. I'd be freaking out.
Yeah, he started in September.
And he said you need to have it in his home. And then
It will pick up your voices too, just so you know. It will pick up you too. So. Let's go.
It's just. Yes, we're good.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Right, the February 7th, 2023 Board of Selectmen meeting starting at 6:40. President myself, Bob Carlson, the first selectman, select woman Nicole Porter, Selectman Brett Mastriani, and we'll start with President.
liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we get to the meeting. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, are there any comments by the selectmen? First selectmen comments, no comments. I would just note that there's correspondence that we have been receiving correspondence from people in support of the library. We've got multiple support letters. I've tried to answer most of them. And I just want to go back and we haven't received them. Old business, demolition of the one-story wing, 298 Norwich Wesley Road. So if you've been driving by, you see that most of the building's down. We ran into a snag with the wall. Today they were screwing, bolting and welding the new part, the new wall to the old part of the building. So that way the existing wall won't fall down when they remove the rest of the building. All that roof is tied into that wall that separates the walkway in and then will be the exterior of the building. So that should be done in another day or two. Once they get it secured, they have it inspected, they can take down the balance of the building and they're gonna grade everything nice and smooth, come back, finish the wall and then seed in early April. So that'll be just a grass space. And then we'll have a meeting in the spring to decide how the town wants to repurpose that space. It's a very important space to us. It's foundation, but also part of the village next to the library. It's part of next to the building we're maintaining. Where we vote, where we have meetings, so it's important that we do something right that the town can get behind, and we're gonna be living with it for a number of years. Now, it could be everything from just green pasture to something more extravagant, but that's for the town to decide. Vacancies and any questions on that? I'm sorry. No, okay. Vacancies and appointments, we have none this evening. We do have an application for a WPCA member, but we're waiting for them to okay it before we go ahead and vote that. So we'll probably get the next meeting. ARPA funds update and discussion. I think you have in your packet what ARPA funds have been spent to date. Looks like we have, because we put money back in the last meeting that we left over from the business hire program, 61,270.70. The second page is what we actually spent so far. So we have $61,270 that's in there right now to be reallocated somewhere down the road. We'll see if we get anything back from the demolition project. Plan of conservation and development. So everyone, did everyone get something in the mail the other day? Like
I got an email that said, participate.
But did you get the actual 8x11 flyer in the mail? They all went out to direct mail. I got one, you got one. You guys got one? You didn't get one?
Yeah.
I got one at my home and work.
Oh, maybe you got my bills. So they all went out last week on Friday. I got mine on Saturday. So the 8x11 tells you when all the focus group meetings are. If you remember the POCD, if you were here in 2013, we tried to have neighborhood meetings. 7 of them, divide the town into 7 areas, try to get people to go to those. That way, like I live in Northwest Corner Road, ours is in Maple Lane Farms. There's some at the library, there's some up at I think the Baptist Camp Whiting.
Camp
Whiteman. So they're around town. And we have different moderators for each one. And if you can go to the one that's closest to you, it makes sense. And there's also focus groups that start this Saturday. There's focus groups on EDC, conservation, and
Housing.
And there's one Zoom version and one in-person version. And I think the first one starts this Saturday. It's a Zoom version of EDC, correct? So we'd like to have people come to that, because that's how we build our P O C D.
Yep.
And once we get it built, it's due by December 2023, and once it's built, we don't have to worry about it for 10 more years. But we do use it as a guide, where the town wants to go. I mean, in the last 10 years, we've heard it referred to in meetings many times that, well, according to the P O C D, we should be doing this, so we should be doing that. And it's really a guide for the town, but it's done by the town, it's where the town wants to go. So the big push in the last one was sewer and waters in schools and firehouse. Well, we got a firehouse and we have, schools have been updated, so we have made progress. So now we'll see what the next 10 years will bring.
I thought the other thing, another thing that came out of it was apparently there's a section of Route 2 over by the casino that was changed from the residential to, I think it's, industrial now.
I mean, part of the EDC has a piece of it,
So,
conservation has a piece of it. The EDC piece was, yeah, to rezone parts of town, because we know that North Stonington does not want to be something other than North Stonington. We don't want to be Groton, we don't want to be Mystic, we want to be North Stonington, but the best North Stonington we can be, which means if we need to get additional tax dollars from commercial, why not do it down near the 95 corridor or down near the Foxwoods corridor? I mean, once they get that new Great Wolf Lodge built, it's gonna be, this building galore down there, and it makes sense if we can do something down in that neck of the woods, but it also keeps the rest of the town, that we all love to be as pristine and rural as it is today, to stay that way. So, I mean, that's part of the problem, right? Is how do we get more tax dollars without taxing the residents more than we already tax them? Towns that are on the coast like Stonington and Mystic and Groton, they've got, hundreds of restaurants and businesses, and we just don't have that, nor do we want that. And so I like to go visit those places and then come home and be quiet. And I listen to all those people in my town. So, the breweries are out now. And if all goes well, we're gonna have 3 wineries in 2 years. There's 2 under construction now, and we already have 1. We got a 4, it's the Magic Tuckers do the one that they want to do, but we know there's gonna be 3. One on Winterchog Hill, John Edwards, and the one on 49 across from KOA. So we know those are definite. So, yeah. That's all good stuff, because people like it's farming, friends in business, and people are farming, so it works out well for them. Any questions on POCD? I'm gonna try to attend, I'm gonna try to attend like 1 or 2 of the focus meetings. I'm gonna attend obviously the Northwest Corner Road meeting and the local one. There'll be one for Kingswood Meadow. So I think, are you doing one?
Yeah.
That's gonna be held, this is being held with the library?
Rec center.
Oh, the rec center, okay.
Mm.
Okay, all right. Any questions about the
do we have any left at the town hall?
Yeah.
Okay, I may stop in at some point and grab it. I just want to get them on my calendar, because I do want to go to a lot of the, as many of them as I can, and I don't want to,
Well, why don't we just continue in the meeting, so that way I can come back?
yeah, that'd be good.
So Red Eye on that, so
I thought that the email I got had a link to the schedules.
It did.
it did,
Oh,
but we
okay.
also should have that hard copy.
Oh, that hard, okay.
Now, it's 2-sided though, so if you put it in the refrigerator, you only see one side. Right there. Turn it over. Okay, if there's no other questions on that, we're gonna get into the UACOM committee presentation. So why are we having it, real quick? The Board of Selectmen had asked, we have 4 advisory committees that work with the Board of Selectmen, with UACOM being one, Conservation is one, WPCA, and Sustainable CT, the North Stonington chapter of that. And we've asked them to come, you to come, and just tell us what's going on, because we don't get a chance to really, unless we've attended those meetings, we don't really get a chance to hear what you've done, what you want to do. I thought the written presentation, which you guys have a copy of, was great, and it'd be great if you want to take the floor now and just
Yeah.
give us some information.
I mean, it was actually good that he asked me to do this, because then I said, oh geez, what did we do? So I went back and spent hours researching all my minutes and notes and all that to try to put something together, in a sheet. So this is really reflects pretty much the whole year from January 22 to the end of the year. And we ended up getting Bob Dunn and Rick Wood are 2 new members, so we have a full committee right now. And I broke it up into activities. So the activities, the artisan farm market was probably one of our best. I mean, that was 4 successful events that occurred at the farm, and that was good. It's good to see that it was so well accepted. That was a nice thing. And 4 more are being scheduled for 23 also. And I just wanted to caution them to go ahead and reserve the areas, you know, in the rec department calendar to be sure we have that. And then we had the theater at Hewitt Farm, which was the last 5 years musical. And they performed, that was the 30th to 31st of July. And that was too, was well accepted. There wasn't quite a number of people that showed up for that. They did have a few problems here and there with power. I guess that was the issue. But anyway, it was, I haven't heard anything that they're gonna be rescheduling anything, you know, this for 23 yet.
No,
But
they did have a little technical problem because I think the distance that they had to travel, the cable had to travel, and the generator we had was not a silent generator, so they had to kind of cover it up with plywood. But I went to one of the plays and they thought it was good for what it was.
Yeah.
Just sitting there in the grass, watching them play. It's like, who would have thought this could happen in North Stonington, right? And it did.
so that was, yeah, and it was all in combination too with the artisan farm markets, which we didn't expect. That was, you know, so it was great. Again, we went for the pavilion itself. We looked at this and said, this should be part of, if you want to reserve it for either an event like, you know, you want a reunion or a birthday party, or the scouts want to, just to go online. So the rec department took over the scheduling of that, which makes it universal for all the, you know, the areas that we have in town that we consider recreation areas. It's all in one place to go off and schedule that. So that worked out pretty good. I did go through and looked at people that have scheduled it for the whole year, and plus some others that we had. So it was basically, it was registered about 14 times, you know, in the calendars. And of course, people still use that when they're hiking and stuff. They come in there for, you know, sit at the picnic table and rest or whatever. So it's the farm is pretty popular. I mean, I was over the last Sunday after the freeze, and Betty and I walked around looking at headstones and that in the Great Plains Cemetery. And there was a number of people that were out there that day. And some of them jogging the trails and that. So it's good to see that people are using it. And the most recent, well, not recently, it was back in September that this young man came up to me and said he wants to, for an Eagle Scout project, he wants to build an orienteering course, which is essentially land navigation. And what there's a starting point, and then there's other waypoints, midpoints, so on, and it's along all of our existing trails. There's markers that are put on the, you know, on the trees and stuff. And so it's using a map and a compass to do land navigation. That's the whole thing. So he's still in the process of building it, and he hasn't completed it yet. But he has to do this before his March 1st, when he turns 18 and he's no longer eligible. So he has to finish this for his Eagle Scout project. So that's going along. I looked at, you know, he's done nice work. He's got a couple of stands that are put in there, and it looks like he's done a good job with them. Going on, we have the John Dean Gallup House, and that has been, we've done a lot of repair work to the house. And which included, we restored the fence, and of course, the cellar entrance door, and installation of the high efficiency or the energy efficient windows, which were really, really, really necessary on that. And I say this, you know, the fence restoration and the period style windows and the fact that they were, you know, energy efficient, I mean, it improved, just greatly improved the appearance of the house when you drive up there, along with the heating efficiency, you know, so that really helped. Because now we have a tenant in there, so that's, and it's occupied now, so that's kind of nice to have somebody there. The community garden, I'm going to get a report from the community garden at my next meeting, which is next Monday. But it's been in its 12th or its 10th year at the farm. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years already that it's been there. They have 19 plots. They're able to rent every single plot. You know, it's another popular thing that the town people do. Some of them are out of town also. And, they're expecting that, you know, this year, they basically close it up, they clean it up and close it up by November, early November. And then they have their harvest dinner after that, once it's closed. And they're expecting all the plots to be filled for 23 also, so they're gonna be continuing with it. And they keep it nice and clean and it looks good, it's not an eyesore or anything, so that's nice to see that they maintain it well.
And there's they charge a fee,
I think it's $25 for the plot.
It is.
and then where does that money go?
It's in there, they have their own account, right?
That's right.
They have an account that they need to go buy supplies or some fencing or things like that.
And the
So,
water bill.
hmm?
And the water bill.
Oh, the water,
The
bill,
water,
that's right,
they do
yeah,
that.
that's right, the water.
Nice.
Hayfields, the hayfields, of course, are leased and, we they're maintained and harvested. And along with that, the leasing also goes and he clears all our trails. So there's quite a bit of trail that goes around these fields. And he takes care of those to keep the brush back and stuff so that, you know, people can actually navigate those pretty well. Meadows, the meadows just got cut, I think. Brian did them in January because he had difficulties with his tractor, he had to get it fixed. We normally mow those late November, around Thanksgiving time. It gives it a chance for them to go to seed, and it provides, you know, habitat for birds and so on. But we also want to mow it to keep down the invasives with those coming pretty readily. So that's what we do. We mow the one by the parking area, behind the 1750 house, and then we do the one behind the community garden. Those are the only two that we do there. And trails are trails. We have people, so some of the people that use them maintain them, you know, they'll trim here and there when they run into something that's, you know, an issue. We've had the town actually go in and remove some large deadfall that's occurred, not too often, but that has happened. Other than that, it was suggested by you, Nicole, that, you know, when it comes to Earth Day in April, maybe that's a good time to get people excited enough to say, let's go off and do some, you know, some maintenance on these trails. And looking at them, it looks like it gets small brush that throws in and it kind of crowds it. And, you know, they have a lot of, battery powered tools, you know, like a hedge trimmers and things like that you could take that you don't need gasoline or anything, and you can do that kind of trimming. So, you know, that's another thing. Now with cordless equipment, it makes things a little bit easier to do.
You might want to work with rec to promote that as an event and try to do it as a collaborative to get more people to come.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. We had a brainstorm at the last meeting we had, and these are some of the things that we had come up with. Of course, the back porch on the Gallup House, we know, and Bob knows of, that needs to be restored before it collapses. We need to fix that. The carriage shed doors too, they're pretty much inoperable and they need a restoration. Also, what came up was installation of electric power to the pavilion and perhaps down into the pavilion area, the amphitheater area, where we want to do some of it. I know we've purchased a portable stage, right? So that would be some encouragement to go and look at performances down in that area. So power would be nice. Corn crib restoration, that thing is pretty delicate right now, and when I look at that, the condition that it's in now, it's not something that you can just start taking boards off and replacing it, because I think it'll just fall down. You know, it's almost like it's gotta be a complete rebuild of it from scratch if you want to maintain it. That I don't know you can do anything with that thing right now the way it stands. it is so delicate as far as stability, although it's held up in the winds and that, but. And I wouldn't trust that. Demolition of the cottage, that's something that had come up, over the years. And I thought at one point in time that there was a budget for just, for demolition of eyesores in town, whatever you wanna call it. That this was part of that, to go through that. So I don't know, where that stands now as far as doing, it'd be nice to get rid of that.
There's still some money in the, on the capital for that.
And from what I understand, there's no need for any kind of hazardous material abatement of it. Or that's already done, so it's one thing that they can go in there, down and go into a backhoe and take that thing down in a few hours. And could go to the transfer station, to the landfill. But that's something that,
Maybe that'd be close, I'd try to both ways. So.
That's a definite item number.
We're going. So, no, I agree, but then I'd like to find, if that should happen, I'd like to, I'm gonna go with some ideas of how to repurpose that area. I worry about people going in there and getting hurt because it's not really secured.
Yes.
Anything that was of any value has been taken out of there. Might be able to come up with a plan that you stave the fireplace, the stone fireplace. I've seen that. That happened down the Andrea when it blew away. Hurricane Sandy, they kept the fireplace and they just put something around it or something like that.
if you look at that fireplace, I don't think it has an adequate foundation for the structure that's there. And so, if you look at modern chimney, some of them put in a pretty good base in there, which they build a chimney off of. And I don't think that has it.
Oh, that's
So-
fine too, but if it's not safe, we wouldn't want to have.
Oh, yeah,
it on,
yeah.
So, but it'd be nice to see what kind of thoughts you might come up with on how to repurpose it, whether it be enlarging the parking lot, making something else in that area.
The question about restrooms always comes up. And it's like you go into a state park, you have those kinds of restaurants, restrooms. They're not cheap to build, they're expensive to put something like that in, but. I don't think that where the cottage is an optimal location, if you're thinking of that. I would want something more central to the farm, where, people from other ends, from Wyasip side and Route 2 side, it would be somewhere in the middle between that.
And so the footage on that was up for the farmers market, actually worked out pretty well, because it was in the middle. And I think a lot of times hikers and walkers used it when it was.
Yes, I'm sure they did.
And
Yeah.
Amazon driver.
Huh?
Amazon driver.
Yeah, when you're on the road a lot, you get to know what everything, all these places are.
Yeah. So, and the fence that was rebuilt, there was a couple of them that the finials failed on. And so what I did is I ordered brand new ones of that size. And what we'll do is when it gets warm enough, I've actually already painted them with 3 or 4 coats of paint. And it's just to cut the other one off and put the new ones on and seal them. So we'll take care of that in the spring. And also for the Plains Bridge, the cemetery bridge, there's that second bridge in there where one end of it, and it looks like it wasn't pressure treated material that was used in the construction of it. So it just completely rotted away. And it's just, that was premature because the rest of it looks okay. It's just that one
Can
section.
you get the Boy Scouts to do anything with that, or?
No, not really. Well, we're gonna do it. Bob and I talked about it, and what it is, all the panels are screwed down, so we could pull the panels up and sister up some joists and put some support under it, put those panels back in. So I think we can fix that minimally. But, so that's what we have.
I think
That's what we've done.
on the John D. Gallopas, and besides the back porch, we're looking at, that needs to be sanded and painted sooner instead of later. There's a lot of paint chipping coming off the exterior of that house.
Oh, siding and stuff?
Yeah, so
Oh.
that's, so when we look at, we're gonna be, in the budget, be some money in the budget, and there's money left over. But so we have to determine of all these projects, that the back porch obviously is probably number one, because it's dangerous.
It's the structural part of that is really,
So that's probably number one, then we'll have to talk about the painting and trim, siding, the garage, the carriage house doors, and maybe even the concrete if going added in, but there'll be projects, but there's only so much money.
oh, I know.
So some things might have to wait till the fall.
Yep, yep.
Good news is having income, close to $20,000 a year of income coming in, For,
That's right.
3 years, we're gonna have a tenant there anyway, and we'll see what happens after that.
We want to make sure we maintain it for him too, because and we noticed that during the farmer's market, on the carriage house, that far side, it's a mixture of mold and, peeling paint that really should be addressed one way or another at some point.
You know, I guess, we didn't. I don't recall, have we ever had the paint tested for lead base?
I'm not sure.
Because, you know, you can go in there and pressure wash that, but what you ended up doing is you'd be blowing this paint off all over the place, and that may be a problem.
Right, we did, at Holly Green, actually, we did something called a soft wash.
Oh, yeah,
They use
yep.
low pressure, so it doesn't blow everything, but it dissolves all the.
Well, that's because what you're introducing in that, I have those nozzles too for low pressure. Yeah, soft washing, it just sprays the bleach on.
Yeah.
And then that's what actually does the washing, and then you just rinse it with low pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
And
works.
do we know if those boards are original? The boards on the exterior of the house?
Most of the ones in the house are, most of them are.
Yeah, I would, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, original, but that may have been recited at some point, you know, we don't
I
have
think
that.
it's not, it could not have gone the whole way.
Probably not.
Not even any of them, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking about too late in the whole thing. But we couldn't have gotten it even if we were all dead, I mean, alive, excuse me. Oh, sorry about that.
And I think that house is really what, 1730, not 1750.
It's probably.
So it's earlier than what you call it.
All right, thank you. Question?
Is there anything else, any questions you have or whatever?
Things that I found, so the cottage area, it might be worthwhile to maybe try to set up a little joint meeting with the rec department or rec commission as well, because I know a few of their members talk about trying to maybe do something there as like a fishing hut or something up on.
Oh,
that
really?
area.
Okay,
So it might be worthwhile
The
talking.
cabin, not the cottage. The cabin.
Same thing, we're talking
the
about.
cottage,
same
yes,
thing.
that's the thing, yeah.
It's a cottage.
I said, well, it says cottage in there, sorry. But yeah, that building. So maybe it's something that they can team up with you guys to do, something. And then, recently seeing a lot of online comments, I think we should address the dog situation.
Oh,
And
you have
leashes.
comments on that?
They're on social media, it goes back and forth, probably once a month or something.
Really, because I don't, is it North Stonington Town?
Yeah.
How come I don't see that?
I don't know.
that group. Really?
Yeah. Brian saw it because he was posting.
But it's been problems.
One thing that we would have to address is in our town ordinances, any park in North Stonington, the dog has to be on a leash. If you want to make an exception for Hewitt, then that would be something separate. But in our ordinance, any park or park-like setting, all animals are supposed to be on a leash.
Is that current?
That's current, it's in our recreation, side of our regulations.
Oh, okay, I
And
didn't
they do
realize
that
that.
over on the other side down there with the other, using for across, not in the thing, but down by.
In the rec area.
In the rec area,
Yeah, they actually don't, they put up signs that they don't allow dogs at all.
Oh, I thought that meant on the field.
Yeah, I can see both sides of that one, but yeah, under our chapter 14 parks and recs, you'll see it, so any town property used for parks and recreation.
Well, several years ago, we tried to do that, and boy, did we get some feedback.
Yeah, and there's pros and cons to both sides, I understand, but we also have to look at safety, and maybe there's a safe area for people that wanna run dogs off leash compared to the whole property, but it should be something that we look into, because it does fire up dog owners and non-dog owners.
Yeah, well, when I was there in the cemetery, there's a woman was walking on there, she had a little bulldog or whatever, and he came running over to me and nice and friendly, but she had another one on a leash that didn't look friendly. It looked like-
But you have to think too, there are people who are afraid of dogs, are not,
Oh, yeah,
but there are people who are truly petrified of dogs. you know, so you didn't mind the dog running over to you, but what if it's someone that is scared of dogs?
That's right.
They don't want any
No, I
dog
know,
running
I know.
over them, you know?
I think we just all have to decide if we're gonna make that. Stand by that ordinance and make that official at
Yeah.
do it or not, and then there's no back and forth anymore.
We can do a public hearing and the board second in the spring, if you want to.
With the public, so we would have to change an ordinance to allow it. So right now, the ordinance is they're not allowed.
I thought it was leash or under control.
No, it's,
I'm not.
I would agree.
That's what the signs at Hewitt Farm say.
That's what the sign
says
says.
domestic animals will not be permitted to enter or go at large in any park except dogs held on leash by their keeper.
Okay. So it's really not an enforcement then.
Yeah, it's whether, well, you have to change the signs there.
And then how do you enforce that, I guess?
You'd have to call the animal control officer if somebody saw that happening.
Yeah, cause we got a lot of feedback saying people didn't not want to put them on a leash. They said, we'll control our animals, and so,
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then we should change the ordinance to allow it at your farm. It just, we shouldn't
Right,
have that ordinance and then totally
ignore.
ignore it.
Yeah.
There was,
alright, so,
We'll revisit at the next meeting again.
well, we're gonna put that has to be something we gotta discuss, how we wanna do this. I mean, if it's a town ordinance to have it on a leash, why are we the exception? I don't believe we should be. Because a lot of people use it, there's a lot of dogs that have walked there also.
You got a comment, Brian?
Yeah, I'm wondering if, I know a lot of towns have spaces for large dogs and small dogs. I mean, I've talked to different people that had a problem that way, you know, the big dog will come after the little dog and that's not good. And, I know one person that I talked to, he said he was on a trail. A dog come running up behind him, no leash or nothing, jumped right on his back. The owner was there, called the dog back, dog come back, but he had jumped on the guy. So there's been problems.
Yeah, I get them
And I
running
just
through my
wonder-
yard all the time too, and I have no idea whose dog they were, and, you know, they come flying through, and one of them actually grabbed me one day, that was not last time I was coming before, and then I ran around to the front, and the dog was running down the road, I had no idea whose dog it was.
Oh, I bet you, I
But it
know
was
that.
somebody walking their dog on the trail.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know there's a guy that used to bring his dog through and he
He's
would
got
walk
one
the
at a
dog.
time, right?
He would drive and the dog would run alongside the car.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Who died, the guy or the dog?
There was a job, that person, last month, I think, and he always had dogs and animals.
did we get an email, did we get an email to our town email that said that there was concern about kids after hours smoking pot in cars?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
yeah, there's a lot of drinking.
So I don't know, I think that you had responded just
All
saying.
right, so I have,
ask the
I've had the
trooper.
trooper go by, usually after, they were seen during the light, it was when they was doing the Eagle Scout and stuff. And
It was
then
actually
his mom was the one that reported to me.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I asked Wayne to go by there on, between 3 and 4, a couple times after, after school hours, because. But no, we don't have an ordinance that says you can't smoke pot on town, but we have, because we haven't updated the ordinance, it wasn't legal before. You can't drink on town property.
Yeah.
So we'll have to change that ordinance when we do go to work, do ordinance work this summer. But in the meantime, I don't think it's a good idea to be smoking pot and driving a car either, so.
But legally, there, I think there's only so much. to it.
But I think, well, statewide, I think you're not supposed to be able to smoke, I think you're not supposed to be able to smoke marijuana on public property. I
Exactly.
think. So even if it's not on a public property. So we might be okay, plus, this guy shows up and there's 4 kids in the car. They're getting pretty nervous. So
It's definitely a problem, even during the farmer's market, there were people parked, their kids parking, and I knocked on the window, and like, they didn't wanna talk to you, and they just rolled up, like, and they still sat there. We're parking cars all around, and they're like, eventually they left, but you're like, there was just no respect for anything in the park, but.
hope we change
What's
that.
that?
Well, I mean, having done the farmers markets, we had a lot of out of towners who came and just raved about the property. But
Nice.
I was surprised at how many actual residents of North Stonington came and said, does the town own this? I said, yes, you can come at
Isn't
any
that
time.
amazing?
And they just were amazed. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece of property that, I think just over the last year, you guys have done so much and so much more has happened there, and I look forward to, the next year.
Yeah. It's just eating the elephant one bite at a time, that's what it actually amounts to, so, you know, we bite off a little bit here and there, it gets better and better. But, yeah, we'll get a few things done.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like,
Thank you.
three new members, you know, not, he's not doing anymore, right? Bob's not the new member. Rick
No,
was,
no, Rick is, Rick.
And I want to tell Bob, just so you know, whenever I ask Bob to do something at the house for me, whether it be you built the bulkhead, worked on the
I
floors.
know, it was
Very,
beautiful.
very, a great guy, he'll do anything for us, and he does great work too, so he was a good find. I think you can find a plumber, electrician.
Stock your board with people that can do all that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Next is the CT recreational trail grant support letter. So what I did, I took the letter we signed before we're going for the grant for the wild and scenic roads. Good night, Bob.
Good night.
And you have a copy of this?
Yes.
So what I want to do is, all I do is change from the Connecticut Wild Scenic Roads to Connecticut Recreation Trail Program. We're hoping that this will then take all additional fees for this. We don't want to take any money out of the public for this. It's, as you see in the email, what it is, it's trying to create a trail that's has a town, most of it inclusiveness of the whole town. It's a trail that we already own, the trail's there. It's a matter of smoothing it out, putting some gravel on it and making it wheelchair accessible.
And our labor will count towards our labor.
There's a 20% match on our labor, on machinery, and we do work that we pay for as part of our match. So everything is done by them. We walked it today, myself, Christine, Alan, and Bill, we're going to just to double check to see what the distance were when Alan brought a wheel to measure the distance, and it just seems like it's right there between the biggest neighborhood we have in the school. And what a great place to have something like that. When you're in the woods, and as Christine was saying, you don't even really get there.
No.
It's like, you can't see the schools at one point, you can't see the houses. It's a nice little, and it's there, we don't have to cut down any trees or that. So I would like us to sign this if we could, so I can give this to Bill as part of his letters of support, and I'm asking,
You need a motion.
we have that motion to sign it, and then I'm like the last time, I'm going to sign it today.
Right,
So we can go home with it. But I'd like to entertain a motion to have us do the support letter for the grant.
so. A second.
All in favor? Okay, so I'll sign and you guys. But you prefer to sign above or below, I can't remember which is above.
Doesn't everybody sign about?
We should.
And we're gonna have Heather and Greg also. Now that we've got this, I'm gonna send them a copy of this tomorrow. And so we've already done this, gonna get a letter from Greg and a letter from Heather. And I think Bill's getting one from Bill Gordon's office, and just helps with the thing.
That's great.
Thank you. Any comments on that?
Yeah, what was the cost of that?
Right now, the cost today on what it would cost the town, but we're gonna get reimbursed for all the materials, is zero cost to the town. But we would use some of our man-hour labor for about a week, man-hour labor to grade, cut down some small trees, cut back some brush, roll the gravel to make sure it's nice and smooth, half inch and small stone. So it's since it's a 20% match, and we can use our labor as for the match. It really doesn't cost the town anything except for these guys' labor that work for us already.
It'd be 1 or 2 guys for a week. That's it.
Probably be 3 or 4 guys for lunch time.
That's right, got the union.
But it's to me, getting a grant like this and making the town as we want to be an all-inclusive town. It's what these ladies talk about when we talk about affordable housing, right? You want to be able to embrace everything. And this is the way to embrace a section of the population that we haven't had a chance to. You can't be in a wheelchair and walk any trail in this town. It's all these wonderful trails. You can't do it if you're in a wheelchair. This gives them a chance to do it. So it's a great opportunity. It just shows the kind of time we are, so. Any other comments? Okay. Perfect. The ARPA Rural Roads Grant. Okay, there's something in your package about that. Again, these are the kind of grants I like because they, we can get a lot of stuff done for very little money. This is a grant that, we've already got, approval on, correct? It's, as you know, I put out something recently and you know, we talked a lot about speeding in town and safety in town. And, one of the things we hear about is our rural roads, like the Sodix Hill Road, Ryder, Route 49, Dennison Hill, speeding. And I've ridden with Jay, and seen the speeding firsthand. And it's dangerous. And we put a speed sign up on Dennison Hill because the traffic committee met out there and over there where Sleepy Hollow is, just I'm sure that's Sleepy Hollow. What was it? Pinewood's, not too far from Pinewood's. And there would be, there's a straightaway that cars just zip down. But this grant's giving us $50,000, we've already been awarded. We can use it 10 times at $5,000 a shot. And we can get extra troopers in for a day. We can have an anti-speed activity, bring troopers from other towns. And it's something that the town now is gonna have the money for free to do it. It gives them, we can pay overtime for our own troopers. So it just gives us a chance to get more police presence to slow things down. And we're not gonna put speed humps on every road in town, it makes no sense. But to do something like this, people always say, well, why are we spending money? Why don't we just use more troopers? More, we only have two. But if we get troopers from other towns and give our troopers more overtime and have the state pay for it, why not do it? So it's a grant we already have. We can use it 10 times at $5,000 per event. And Christine, can you expound on that anymore? Or?
Yep, so this works out to be about 8 shifts at the regular 8-hour shifts for the troopers. It is completely through the American Rescue Plan funds, so it's not living in the general fund. It's gonna live in a separate account where our ARPA money lives, gonna be a separate ARPA pool. So we'll spend out of there, get reimbursed into that. So this is no cost to the town, not using any general fund money. The troopers aren't limited that it has to be 8-hour shifts. They can do a couple, if we identify that, from 5 to 7 or 4 to 8 is the best time to do this enforcement because people are coming home from work, then they can do those split shifts and just do shorter amount of time. There's not specific roads or specific times that they have to do it. It's up to the discretion of our troopers, working with the first selectman to identify what the areas are that we need the enforcement in town. This does run a calendar year. So we would have to use the money by December 31st of 2023. But we've basically been told by the state, spend it as fast as you can, because the faster it's spent, there may be more money from the federal government that we can get for more enforcement moving forward. So, we would start using this as soon as you guys are on board. The troopers are excited and ready to go. They want to make sure that, people see them out and about and that they're getting people to slow down and keep the community safe.
We already approached we have just the 2. Have we approached other troopers to come in and help?
Our troopers will do that. They'll do it through the troop.
Can we, speaking of this, do we give access to all the troopers when they're on duty, not just our residents to use the office?
The office and bathrooms.
We do. Okay. Someone mentioned to me, an older trooper, that we used to get good coverage because we had like a room up there for them to access and utilize. So people, when they were just roaming around, not our residents, would come and be able to do some stuff here and it kept people in town.
I've seen more use the bathroom than I have seen them come into the office, so it's good. But it's kind of it makes them welcome to come into our town, and by that way we have it too, so.
Can we make a motion to accept this or apply for it? We need to apply or just accept?
Just accept.
Okay, motion to accept.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Good. The last thing we have, which can take much time before we get into the 2 discussions that take the most time, which is the bottle bill. So you may be aware that the state decided that I think the liquor lobby is too strong to have them just stop making nips, and then they're very little bottles. Kind of pick up all those free other things, that's those things. So, because so they couldn't stop them from being made, they decided, well, we'll pay the towns X number of dollars to clean them up. And we get a nickel for a bottle. It's amazing how
A
much,
nickel per nip?
a nickel per empty bottle. So a nickel. How much money do we have in that account right now?
We have $15,695, and that's only
So
from
sad.
1 year's worth.
That is so sad.
That's 1 year's worth of nip money.
15,000.
Yeah. Divide that by
A nickel.
A nickel.
A nickel
Are
in
you
it.
doing
I'm
math?
doing the math.
I
Don't, it's gonna make you cry.
So $1 is 20 nip bottles, right? 1 bottle.
15 what?
$15,695.50.
So who's picking the bottles up?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
No, so this is, when they're sold at the liquor store. A nickel
I'm
comes
sorry.
out of
I
them.
thought These were.
This is not recycled. This is just ones that are sold at the 2 package stores in North Stonington.
313,000 nips were sold in North Stonington.
The two
Yeah,
stores,
that's the casino. It is. That's the
Yeah,
casino.
that's true.
but we're benefiting from it.
I'm hoping that's the
So here's
casino.
the thing is, it does not get them picked up. Because the money actually comes from the wholesale, so the wholesale sells to our 2 liquor stores, whether they sell them or not, doesn't matter, we get the money from the wholesale.
Okay.
So once they're sold to the one over there, little man's and the one down there truck stop, we get a nickel for every one.
That's insane.
That is,
So so they couldn't stop making them, because the liquor lobby is too strong. They don't have the manpower to go pick them all up, so they give the money to the towns, they do figure out how you want to handle it. So now we have this money, but just like the opioid money we have, it has to be used in a certain area. So we do, how?
Okay, so, the Public Act, it is that all payments received by any municipality shall be expended by such municipality on environmental measures intended to reduce the generation of solid waste in such municipality or reduce the impact of litter caused by such solid waste, including but not limited to the hiring of a recycling coordinator, the installation of storm drain filters designed to block solid waste and beverage container debris, or the purchase of a mechanical street sweeper, vacuum, or broom that removes litter, including but not limited to such beverage containers and other debris from sidewalks, streets, and abutting lawn and turf areas. So basically, we can use this money for anything related to waste. So we could use it to offset our tipping fees by $16,000.
Johnny was looking for a street sweeper.
We could use it towards a new street sweeper. We could use it towards, there's a small Kubota he wants to get for cleaning streets and also if we get sidewalks.
But we couldn't use it for like an Earth Day event to get people out
We
to
could.
help.
We could, but how would you spend the money? So our situation that we need to figure out right now, we have $6,567.60 that is currently living in deferred revenue. So that's the money we received last year that we did not spend last year. So that has to sit and wait until it gets identified for a specific purpose that is appropriate to that public act. This year, we've received $9,127.90 that we either have to spend this year or have to put into deferred revenue to use in a future year.
and we can combine them, obviously.
Yes. So what we can do is in the budget, there's many scenarios. So we could spend the money this year and therefore acknowledge it as revenue. So we would show this total $15,695.50 as revenue this year that we've received under other intergovernmental revenue. And then we could spend it. If we wanted to spend it, you could spend it out of an existing line item and not increase that line item. So I'm using tipping fees as an example because we know tipping fees are going up. I'm not advocating for that. It's just an example. So we could use towards how much we have to spend. So the townspeople are spending $16,000 less in that line item because those funds have come in from the state. Another way that we can use the money is create a capital project like buying a sweeper or buying this Kubota. I'm using the Kubota because it's a $40,000 purchase where a new street sweeper is over $100,000. So it's going to take us many 6-month incremental units to get to $100,000 to buy a street sweeper, maybe 200,000. I don't have an exact estimate. So we could create a capital project, and then as we get this money every 6 months, we can put the money into that capital project and then save it up. And once we've saved up for that item, spend the money. If we don't spend it this year or identify a capital project, it lives in deferred revenue and will not be realized as revenue until we go to use it. As we are doing the 2024 budget, if you want to identify a capital project for next year's budget, we can allocate the $15,695.50 to that project now, and also understand we're probably going to get another $18,000 to $20,000 next year to continue to add to that. The first installment was $6,500, and that was a lower amount than they project we're going to get because the liquor stores pre-bought a lot of nips before this rule went into effect. So the $9,000 for the second installment is more likely to be the true amount we're going to get every 6 months.
So this is tracked from the wholesalers that sell it to the liquor stores, not the liquor stores at their point of sale.
Correct.
Okay.
And there's a group of wholesalers who have contracted through Wine and Spirit Wholesalers of Connecticut to do this larger payment. So it's 8 different wholesalers that are combining what they've sold to give one check to the town. And then there's other wholesalers that we may just get a random check. So we got a check for $40 from Ace Distributing
They're not popular, whatever drink they're making.
out of the blue, that we got that payment separately. So we may be getting 1 check every 6 months. We may get 5 checks every 6 months. It's not something that we can estimate how much we're going to get, because it all depends how many nips all the liquor stores purchase. So you can make a decision tonight on what you want to do with this. You can think about it and incorporate it into the budget for fiscal year 24. If you want to create a new capital project, then that would need to go to town meeting because you're creating something that's not in the budget. So just, I wanted to lay out all of the options as we go into the budget cycle.
My thoughts would be to sit on it after this meeting, we just heard about it, give it some thought. And then maybe a future meeting soon, maybe in March, decide how as a group we want to move it. I mean, to me, there's a lot of good options, but which one do we think is the best option?
Some other,
We can discuss it tonight too, we don't have to wait.
No, I mean, I agree. One thing that I would love to see happen with this is put it in for our tipping fees. Yeah, we want to reduce that, but how is that solving some of the issues of the litter and the nips on the side of the road and that kind of stuff, when this gives us the opportunity to try to address something that could solve that? I mean, there's so many things that we can think of, but like, I think of trash receptacles in some of our parks that we don't have, things like
Could it
that.
be split? I mean, could we do an Earth Day event that says maybe only cost us $1,500 to buy gloves and whatever we bags and whatever we need to supply? If we get a bunch of, for 50, you show up to do Earth Day and they spread out around town. You know, so maybe some of those contraptions that pick up paper and waste. So let's say it's $1,500, then can we put the rest into it so we can split it?
yes, you can identify this for a multitude of projects. What some other municipalities have done, they've created recycling coordinators, either full or part-time. They've used it to fund someone who handles community service for the community, not just recycling related, but all community service. They've instituted it to help with food recycling programs. So you can look at it not just from the plastic waste, but all of the waste that's created by the towns. I think that's what Preston was doing.
I think Preston's on that.
Yeah.
So can we put this on our next agenda or
We could.
one after that?
We could do that.
Try to help somebody.
I mean, just going up and down Route 2, I think that, and I don't think any piece of equipment, because you just look at the side of the road, up and down Route 2, and it's disgusting. And that's a constant battle. I mean, we could organize an Earth Day, but you're talking Route 2, so
Right,
you know, we've had deaths on Route 2, with people walking, that's the last thing, but I don't know what kind of equipment could pick up trash on the side of Route 2, but, I would love to see, the money to actually go towards something that's gonna help the problem.
I mean, I don't even think, we have litter signs, I don't think I don't necessarily help.
I don't think they would,
We don't
I don't
have
think they
any,
would help.
or can it go towards enforcing littering?
yeah, but how do you know, you can position a trooper somewhere, just watch for somebody to throw something out the window.
Sit outside the liquor store. Like parking lot over.
Yeah, so that's great, more quote unquote free money.
But with that has to be something for
Yeah.
purpose, so.
Yeah,
I think it's good to know we have it, and whatever we decide will be something better for the town, will be the taxpayer of the town or something, you know, so I think it's nice to have something to think about.
yeah.
So, yeah, let's move it off to another meeting.
Don't they have a gator on the potential list too?
That's the Kubota.
Oh, that's what you're
Yeah.
referring to, okay.
One,
That would be
I'd say the next meeting after this is the one that's after the next, presentation meeting with us, the Board of Finance, the 15th. So why don't we not do that?
Yeah.
That's gonna be so budget.
Yeah, that's gonna be a happy
We'll go to the
meeting.
one after that.
So the first March meeting,
March 7th, I think,
probably 14.
or March 14th, right?
We're not supposed to be meeting tonight.
Okay, got it. Okay, and so can we just postpone that for now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good discussion now. So, let's get to the meat of this meeting. Something we talked about since I think we talked about it in this one before we even took off. We're gonna talk about things we might be looking at, and one thing was this. You have a study that Don did, East Lyme, Groton, Griswold, Ledyard, Montville, Norwich, Preston, Stonington, and Waterford. We have that study, that's it. And if you notice, the word free. If you look at North Stonington, which is highlighted, the word free shows up a lot. Free permit fee, free bulky waste, free asphalt and concrete, free brush, free land debris, free electronics, free propane tank. So it's a pretty good deal if you live here. For us who's living in a town like, we'll say, Groton, permit fee $100, Griswold, permit fee $40. Now, this is all for 1 year. Ledyard, permit fee $25, but also day pass of $5, and they charge $75 for brush, $35 for small, $15 a yard runs for bulky waste. So there's a lot of fees by other towns, so when you add them all up, it's quite expensive. I was talking to, I just want to find out how much it costs, because I don't have trash pickup at my house. I was told today by a person that it costs him $300 a year for trash pickup, $75 a quarter to get his trash picked up. That adds up. Preston's free, but they also they do have bulky waste fees, but they do charge for things like brush, which we don't charge for brush. They're charging 50, 70, 150 and 250, depending on the size of the truck. So for us to do and I think we talked about this, for us to do a 2-year sticker, just to throw it in, we'll say $40 for 2 years. So it's basically $20 a year. And if we started July 1st, 2023, and you moved into town in 2024, it costs you $20. We wouldn't charge you 2 years for a 1-year sticker. And it would change every 2 years. So it would be a sticker that stood out. But if I'm gonna charge Brian Rathbun money to go to the transfer station, I can't have Mary Ann show up without a sticker and say, oh, that's okay, you can just dump with your out-of-state plate, and we're doing him a disservice if we don't enforce what we're doing. So I'm thinking that with there's two pieces, it's the fee piece, but it's also the piece that we have to enforce what we said we're gonna do. And I think that as far as the fees go, we know that the bulky waste pile is not getting any smaller. And we know that the tipping fees are going up every year, and the getting rid of, the cost of getting rid of garbage and recyclables is just getting higher and higher all the time. So, I know I've heard, well, what do we get for our taxes? We don't get much for our taxes. And I would argue that it depends on how you measure your taxes. If you live in the town, don't want to throw Norwich under the bus, but it's a town, it's more of a city type town. They've got full-time fire, full-time police, they have full-time trash, they have full-time a lot of things. But what don't they have? They don't have the clean air and the space and the beautiful landscaping and the trails and the water that we drink and the neighbors who care and the low crime rate and all the things, great school system, all things we have in this town. And there's a price for that. So when, I guess if you're measuring it, it's how you measure it. So if you want to get the little things for free, you can move to a place like a Norwich or New London or wherever and get that. But what we have here, it's tough to put a price on it. And I think that's the price to live here sometimes is it's not gonna be the least expensive place in the world to live. Because it's a quality of life that we all embrace. I think people live here embrace. And we want to kind of maintain. So that's how I argue that particular point. But I think it's time that we look at this. Also, if you put a fee on, everyone in this town pays for the transfer station, whether you use it or not, we all pay for it on taxes. And Wesley, what they do in Wesley is they just throw the extra $100 on your tax bill, whether you use the transfer station or not. So now you're getting paid not only a fee, but you're getting paid a user fee even if you don't use it. What we're saying is you're paying for the tax for the transfer station. But if you're gonna actually use the transfer station, you're paying a user fee on top of that. So if you never use it, you're paying it with your taxes like we pay for the school. Whether you have kids in or not, you pay for schools. Same thing with the transfer station. But should you pay a little bit more if you're using the transfer station? It's not a big number.
Is the recommendation that we adjust any of the other fees that are currently free? Or are we just suggesting, and I know we can talk about anything, I'm sure anything's on the table. Or is the recommendation right now just to charge the $40 for a 2-year sticker?
Well, that and also to
The bulky waste too.
mimic Preston's bulky waste ordinance. They're not a scale either. If you see, they have a 25 small truck, 35 medium truck, 75 large truck, 125 extra large truck. I would say that seems to be the most reasonable of the other bulky waste charges. I look at leaded, 125 for medium and 250 for a large. I mean, their large is twice as much as I am for large.
So
So
what do we technically classify as bulky waste?
pretty much it's debris from homes, not brush, it's when you're doing
Like
construction,
construction?
roof shingles, siding, boards, fresh treated lumber.
Now, the metal, is that,
There's metal bins, we don't throw metal.
so that doesn't consider it, okay.
And there's already bins at the transfer station for metal.
Right, no, I knew that.
So we had stickers, correct?
We still have stickers.
But they were free.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any kind of pricing, not that I would expect it to be a large amount, but do we have any kind of pricing on the number of stickers we would need to do and swapping them out every 2 years?
She just bought them, how much were we looking at?
Yeah, but we're still figuring out if those are the viable option. I can look up what we paid Minuteman last time, just give me one moment.
But we're not using them.
Okay.
And then do we have the staff that we need at the transfer station on the days that it's opened to actually enforce it? Because it's not gonna matter. Yes, we're gonna have the money from the stickers. But if people are still coming in because nobody's looking at any stickers,
So there's two things. One, we're gonna take the money part of it away from them and do it at the town hall. So, because I don't want them handling $40,000.
oh, I totally agree.
So they're still gonna have the $10 for the refrigerator and the fire,
Yeah.
those things, but
Yeah,
as far as the stickers
you
go.
purchase your sticker at the town hall.
Hall, you get a voucher, and you go to and they have to put it on for you there. So that'll take that piece away, and Donnie's gonna, the first 3 months that we do this, he's gonna have an extra person up there on the days he considers the busy days, just for enforcement purposes. So.
Is that sustainable or just for the first
It'd
3
probably be-
months?
Well, he figures the first 3 months are gonna be the worst.
Yeah.
It's July, we're just starting, July 1st, July, August, September. That'd be and he's gonna have a person there that he can take and put up there for those, to help out for those 3 months.
So I was gonna ask something similar because it doesn't make sense to have them if we're not enforcing them. And eventually, I think this would save the town money overall from a lot of people without stickers or out of town utilizing it. But with our union contract, is there a way to put a percentage of this away in hire just someone part-time and that's all they are there to do is be almost like a gate person?
So the union contract gives us the ability to hire a temporary part-time person. They can only work a certain number of hours in a certain number of weeks, so we couldn't hire a person for a whole year.
Right, but we could for. Because I would like to see something like that, that person, that's all they're there to do. Is especially during, when we first get them, to put them on and make sure. Someone's looking at them, instead of paying someone from our highway. Garage, an extra person be up there who will end up running and doing other stuff, because that's just the nature of the job up there. And utilize, put a percentage of this money for that, because what Donnie said about 1,200 residents.
We're figuring out the thing with the budget's a little tricky, because if we do it, that you pay $40 the first year, which is good for 2 years, I mean, you're not gonna get that income the next year, right?
Right.
And if we say that if you came in the next year, you're only gonna pay $20, you're not paying 40, because it's only for 1 year, so he estimates about $40,000 the first year, which may only drop down to $10,000 the second year. So then we're back up to 40,000 and down to 10 and so on, because it's gonna be a roller coaster, right?
I thought at his presentation, he said about 1,200 people utilized that.
Yes, so we bought 1,500 stickers in 2019 for $1,233. And we ran out of stickers most likely in February, March, April of 2022.
When do we buy them?
We bought them in January of 2019.
Okay, so we had it for 3 years.
For
$1,233.01.
But we've had the same sticker.
We've had the same,
So
so in
we got-
2018, we bought that sticker, the full color white background sticker. Before that, I think it was one color on white background. And we're getting stickers for the interim at a much cheaper price from our regular vendor that we've been using, but they are not the same quality of sticker, so I'm working on that. But we can't necessarily, I understand what you're saying, Brett, about putting money aside, but you can just say that that money is going toward that, but all money
It's
goes
kind of
to
like
all
tuition
expenses.
money, right? You bring in as revenue, and say it, but it's not, it doesn't go.
But more importantly, I'd like to see it as a part-time, different role than one of our highway guys. Being up there, that way, that's what they're focusing on, especially during the rollout.
A couple other things we thought is the one fee per family. And so Brian Rathman shows up and he wants a sticker for his truck. And then Pam wants a sticker for her car. She can get a voucher, but she's gotta go down still gotta go down, we'll give her one for free, because Brian has it,
Yeah.
goes down for free, and she gets a sticker
That's
put up,
good.
but it has to go to the transfer station to get it, so they know it's on her vehicle, it's on
And it's only 2 per household.
super household.
I like that.
So that way you're not, there's no reason why he paid, him pay 40 and Brian would pay 40, wouldn't make sense. That was something that wasn't done before, it used to be, you paid, each per, I mean,
Yeah.
I had out of state place, I went to the one guy in Rhode Island, I couldn't get a sticker, because my place was out of state.
Nick Mullane wouldn't give me one when I first moved here, when I had a company car. It was registered in Rhode Island, he said, no, I'm like, what, I own a house though.
So that,
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this for a while. I'm in favor.
and I wouldn't mind getting, like Fred just said, maybe a person in there that's not named Donna or Willie, or, because of, because those are nice people like, right? We don't want to turn them into the bad guys.
Yeah.
So if you're making Donna be the enforcement person, then she's all of a sudden she's the bad guy.
Yeah.
So why not have a person we bring in, we give her his own enforcement agent, bring them in and let them. And,
Yeah.
and but Donnie will also spend a lot of time there, he said, in the beginning too, make sure that we have management there, Alan spends some time there.
Yeah, he gave us the feedback that people are not kind. And,
So, something we should probably look at doing prior to, we have to do it sooner instead of later, I'm gonna do it during the budget season too, so we can, if there's gonna be any revenue, we can add that revenue, we can have Donnie estimate. The sticker revenue and the bulky waste revenue, I don't know the estimates for bulky waste at this point, I think he gave us one last year. We talked about this last year in the budget, remember? I will check it out the budget.
Yeah.
Christine, do we have a capital account set aside for the closing of the bulky waste
Yes.
pile? Is it worth it to have whatever revenue is coming in go into that?
I mean, this was the first year we funded it, and we funded it at 25,000, we have it projected for next year's budget for 25,000.
You know, I know,
We have no concept of how much it will cost.
I know,
Two.
but we were estimating well over 1 million, right? Like, I remember one of the first things that we did in office was go to the transfer station, and I just remember being amazed at what Donnie's estimate to take care of that could be, just his best guess. And $25,000 a year, like if we end up, and we don't have any kind of an estimate right now when we would have to close it, right?
Well, the thing is, if you put it in bulky waste fees, it might prolong it.
It would-
Prolong it. It might
yes,
not have people,
because
other
we
people
won't
gonna
have-
dump there.
yeah.
Cause that is a major problem.
That keeps me,
So maybe the 10 years goes to 15 years before we have to replace it.
yeah,
And maybe somewhere down the road, when we know we're getting closer, we can send them 25,000 and we can put more than 25, especially if we're getting 25 in a year for revenue.
And when we look at these, if we are moving forward, maybe look at some options too, where they don't say North Stonington on them, they're just a design. There's some studies on people tracking people based on their stickers in their car. So if they see you getting into your car at the grocery store, it says North Stonington, then it's why they got rid of some rental car stickers in the past. And I know there's certain towns that don't do it, they just do a symbol with the years. I don't know if it's something we want to look into, but I'm just thinking about safety.
This isn't a world where people post everything on Facebook, like what they have.
I know, I just thought I'd throw it out there. and not be-
What if it was just the town logo, and if you don't know the logo, you don't know?
Yes, I can see there's a sign, yeah. Or a picture of them, like the box or something, I don't know, whatever.
I mean,
I just thought I'd throw it out.
I don't think it's a big deal to do that. I mean, no one can have the same logo as us, if that makes people feel better, but it's funny how the society, they go out of the way to tell everybody everything they want, everything, and then they want you to know something else, so.
But, so we're looking at $40 for the fee itself.
That's just my suggestion for 2 years.
I think that's reasonable. What was it that time? Like 8 years ago?
He would know,
60.
he would know.
And then we had to refund some of the fees.
How much was a sticker fee?
60 for the year.
Stickers were free for us, I know.
65, was
He thought it was free.
Oh, no, when you
Yeah,
stopped
I
getting along at the transfer station, I forget what that was now.
I think you're right.
Totally.
Yeah, that's, I think that's not.
it? It was either 60 or 65, and I know that you, someone single-handedly stopped it. And did you get your money back? Cause I didn't get my money back.
I never paid any.
Oh,
I
okay.
never used it for a whole year.
I paid it and I didn't get my money.
We saved a ton of money. And tipping fees that year with the I think in light of the increase in tipping fees and everything else, the way to minimize the bigger impact on the residents in the future is to do something that we can do like this and also enforce.
I think the other thing is we're doing our citizens this service by letting all those people from other towns.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
Dump in our town.
Yeah, and we've heard the feedback many times. And when you think about $300 a year for trash pickup versus putting it in your trunk or in your truck and $40 for $20 for the year, I think it's long overdue.
Well, even if you look at other towns that have a fee, but then you're paying per bag too. So not only are you paying the fee, you gotta pay each time.
Yeah, we could have those yellow bags.
Yeah.
And then what are you, so Preston is $25 for a small truck and 50, no, I'm sorry, bulky waste.
25, 35, 75, 125.
Okay.
Okay, my question on those is, first of all, do we have a chart of what truck
We
does,
should
small,
have
medium,
some,
and large?
yeah.
Donnie does.
And then how are we not penalizing people that have a large truck, but they only have half of that full? Because that's the only truck they have.
Well, I think that they're gonna have to take that into consideration. Sometimes what they have it's half full, probably try to go a small truck. A lot of it's gonna be,
As long as that's in place, I would just hate someone with an F-350 and only has a few things in there to be charged.
Oh, I would think,
you can do each one of these. It's just something that Don came up with, it's from the fees that we pay now, and then the proposed fees for the bulky waste at the bottom. If we mimic Preston.
And it's different than what we're currently,
This is all exactly what we're doing now,
okay,
except
this
for
is
the
this is what
bulky
we're doing.
So with the bulky waste, is there like a, if it's mounded high, is there a difference or it doesn't matter? If it fits, it comes in.
Some of it, we can talk about it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it would be helpful to have pictures at the
I
transfer
do too.
station of, this is a small truck, this truck
Yeah.
is mounted over, is it really a medium truck? And so that it's less discretionary for the staff up there and more, they point us to this picture and says, your truck looks like this, so I'm
Yeah.
charging you this much.
Yeah.
The medium truck.
That's a good
red truck
idea.
versus my truck, which would be small, or your truck also small, and then, you know, is there another truck that's been,
Yeah, it's gotta go by bedside.
and so I think that there's a little education we have there.
Somebody does it by the yard. Bristol does it.
But
by
then
the
you gotta
yard.
have someone like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know there's towns that do it by weight, even in your car, but we gotta have a scale. So can we get all that information before we?
We can, this is really just, something to say that someone was definitely interested in doing,
Yeah,
and,
So do we want to wait until we have all that information with the bulky? Or do we want to start with the stickers?
I think it's up to you guys, I don't mind.
I am fine making a movement to move to stickers for 2 years, $40, and then we can talk about bulky waste. And we can get the additional data.
One of the things the cities, we stop them, and they have to start after the fiscal year, so they can't start selling them until July first. We talk about either a 2 or 3 week grace period, because people have to get to town hall, and get it, the sticker, and get it there. So maybe the first 2 weeks are free, and we just say, hey, you need to have a sticker by July 15th or July 21st, whatever they can say. And then if you were oblivious to all this and show up and you don't have the money, you don't have, you can't buy there, you don't have a sticker, you get one free shot at that, okay, you can't let you in again, you gotta get a sticker before the next time you come. So try to be, okay.
Do you think we could have a few Saturdays in the beginning or something like that, where we're all up there and someone from town that could
Yeah.
give stickers out right then?
No, they'll have to come here to buy the
You
sticker.
don't think we can do a few promo of the beginning days, because it's gonna be such a rush, why not bang it out up there? And it's also public awareness of what's
Why
happening.
couldn't we do it here? We could do it on a Saturday, go right into the overhang, it's summertime, and sit right out here at tables and do them right here on a Saturday.
So I do think we have to have some weekend, because I can never, I'm a selectman, I can never get to the town hall during operating hours. So I do think that we need to have something, whether it's up there, in the midst of, just everything going on a Saturday, versus get the word when you go up there to dump your stuff, and then, hey, they're right at the town hall, you know, all day, go get it right now.
I'll go maybe
And
like
when-
8 to 12.
I'll pack a lunch and we'll
I don't think
hand
we do
out
with
stickers
the
for the day.
older kids, right? Just do it on
Yeah.
a weekend.
Yeah, I think we need to do something like
Yeah.
that, because you're
Like a
right, it's
promotion.
hard for people to get to
Oh,
town
yeah.
hall during normal.
Again, not to say bad things about the town of Westerly, but Westerly, you had to go to the highway garage building from 9 to 3, Monday through Friday, no exceptions.
That's why I don't live in West.
One of the reasons.
I think we could be especially this might not go over well with everyone, so I think it's customer
As much as we
focused as we
can-
can be on
yeah.
it and getting
Yeah.
and rolling it out. And that way, if they have questions about why it's happening, Bob, there, one of us, we're there to say, look, the tipping fees have gone up and explain it to people, so it's not. Taken out of-
So there, we have little man's bringing us some food, we'll go, set to go.
Yeah.
We just have to make sure we have checks and balances on the money side of things, so we're dealing with cash.
Well, that's why we have someone that just does the
And
cash.
we talked to Jim, though, we might be able to get,
We are going cash and check only.
he's not gonna get us a machine,
No,
card machine?
no,
Cash and check only.
cash and check only. Everything at town hall is cash and check unless it's something where you're getting charged a service fee above and beyond. So if you pay your taxes online, there's an extra fee above and beyond. So if you guys wanna look at that, we'll look at it, but it's not gonna be included in the $40.
No, I would look at it, just knowing the amount of people that don't have cash
Yeah.
anymore, and so many younger who don't carry a checkbook with them.
It's an ATM, or-
I'm just saying, it's,
If you come
Okay.
here for anything else, cash and check, so it's not inconsistent.
So you're getting a dog license, fishing license,
Yes.
marriage license.
building permit, and credit card.
Fine.
Now you can because we do it online, but you never
Just a
could.
permit.
Yeah, if it's in line. with all
Exact
that.
change.
Yeah.
Cash.
All right, so
When,
So
when
we
we
will
will
look
look
into it.
quarterly coming out, because I think this would be, an
that's
absolute,
so probably.
April.
okay,
I can get
Yeah,
the
I
whole
think
thing
we
out on
should-
the front page.
yeah, I think we should definitely,
But these are
Make
like
sure
the
it's in
nice
there.
things there is.
yeah,
So we're looking at $40
for
For
two,
two
yeah.
2 years.
So I'll make a motion to, institute 2-year stickers for the transfer station, at $40, for the 2-year, $20 per year.
A second.
Okay, so we have first and a second. Do we have discussion now before we vote? Ryan?
Yeah, has anybody, I haven't heard anybody say how much scales would cost. That's the only way you're gonna really keep bulky waste squared away and keep people from out of town using our dumps.
So we have
Because I'm
scales,
gonna stop,
we have scales now that we can't use.
right?
I don't know, what to buy new scales would have to be fairly expensive, wouldn't it?
I don't know, that's what I'm
We can't use
asking. I think
one.
it's worth checking into.
It's not
I
functional.
mean, we got what, $15,000 just from the nips? We put that toward it. You know, I'm just saying, I'd like to see how much the scales would cost our town if it's gonna
So
keep
that's
our
a-
dump open.
That's
The
on the
biggest
bulky-
problem you said was the bulky waste.
So that's the bulky waste. So right now, we're making a decision just on the stickers. Bulky waste is still gonna be a discussion. But I think we can get a price on scales. That's not a bad idea, Brian, especially if we can use the nip money towards it possibly.
Yeah.
We get a price on a gate too,
Well,
sticker gate. You know, you pull up, the gate open.
okay.
Can I just, ask a question, Brian? When I drive up in my truck with my bulky waste, all my renovations I'm doing, so do you just drive onto the scale and it gives you it must take into consideration the type of vehicle you have?
Weigh in. then
Thank you. Thank you, okay,
Just like they do with the
Scrap metal place.
scrap, yeah.
okay.
Right, so that's, I was saying
And you're
earlier,
paid by the pound then.
my
Yeah.
mother-in-law was saying, they're going to Hopkinton, and that's what they have to do. They pay a fee, but they pay for their garbage too. So they weigh their vehicle pulling in and pulling out.
With
How many
regular
people
garbage.
got it? So many
Wow.
taxes, so many taxes will go down,
Wow,
So.
right?
all right, so we
So I
can,
think
we
that's.
can add that to the
We
conversation.
get that in
for bulky
last
waste.
time, we get price on the scales, and would be, I said, we could get the scales and they work. It doesn't take any, that whole question about small, medium, and large, like, oh, my truck's really
Yeah.
small, my truck's really,
Yeah,
it's only
I
half
do
full.
worry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only half full, what are you touching?
Yeah.
That kind of thing, so that would take that question out, so we can, and I think from what Christine told us, we could use the NIP money toward that. Are we talking $200,000 or $50,000? I don't know.
I mean, you're getting money from people in town anyways with landfill. So if you're gonna charge them $40, there goes another service that I had for free supposedly, I'm paying for.
Oh, you were paying for it before?
So now the taxes should go down then. How much of my taxes are gonna go down? $40?
We're preventing the taxes from going through the roof in 10 years when we have to pay $1.5 million to take care of that bulky waste pile. That's that like terrifies me, like where we would get that money from.
Well, I'm looking at if we get the scales, that might stay open, because this is all estimates now.
Yeah,
So it might be another 20 years.
but
And
to
it might be
Bob's
worth
point,
what?
but the paying for bulky waste alone will be a deterrent from people not dumping more than they're not bringing in. I live in North Stonington, but I'm doing my mother's renovation in Stonington. I'm loading it all up in my truck and I'm dumping it in, well, it really wouldn't. Yeah, but
People do
if
that,
it's free, it's free. You don't think people know what towns have,
yeah.
you gotta pay for
The
and,
biggest side effect when you do something like this is you stop seeing stuff on Swantown Road, Button Road, Riley Road. As soon as you see stuff that gets, I wasn't paying for it, I'm not gonna pay now, so they find a road in the middle
and
of
just dump
nowhere.
it.
You would farm, just find it, you know, and so. That's something that's gonna happen in the beginning, but hey, it's like when we put the speed humps in, right? And I'm buying paint on the speed humps, it's just people blow, I just passed, we've come back to school the other day, I mean, Christine. Guy runs in a gray pickup truck. Always going on the side. Oh, we passed that now.
Children.
6 months in, and we got on past beeping our home on this, but anyway,
I like this.
I don't think it's a problem at all. So anyway,
So are you guys comfortable putting 40,000 in as the revenue item? Or do you wanna put 35,000 in for the first year in case there's pushback?
I'm concerned about putting 40 in.
Yeah, true. We always talk about, we don't wanna count our chicken before that.
well, how much is 40 times 1,200? $40 times 1,200, just give me a number.
48,000.
Shoot that in your head.
No.
No, but it's been, fine, it's 12 times 4, we do.
So if you did 35,000, that would be 875 stickers.
I do 24.
Huh?
I do half.
24.
No, it's gonna be, no, everyone, no one's gonna stop using it.
But what if, when we say 1,200 people utilize it, and 2 people from the same household, we don't know if it's different households.
No.
Yeah, but we never paid for stickers before.
Yeah, but we don't know.
Right, but we only gave out 1,500 stickers
Okay,
and each person has a sticker. And we're only getting $140 for 2 stickers.
Right.
gotcha. Oh, 30,000.
I
I
like
hate to
25.
overshoot and be,
But but the money that, extra money just goes in the general fund, right?
Yeah, anything extra we get,
There's-
just
there's-
extra.
All right, I'm gonna do 25 as a revenue number. We haven't voted the decision.
Or did you want to do 24?
I said 24, but at 20, I'm okay with
I like
25.
the
I'm
next
not
round, 25.
So we haven't voted this in, we have to vote in, right?
Yeah,
with the stickers.
we have.
So
Are we
any
done
other
with
discussion? Any discussion? Any other discussion? Do
No,
I have-
no sense in saying anything.
You can say whatever you want.
Well, I mean, you're making it so I can't use transfer station
Why can't you?
because I'm not gonna be paying them $40.
Okay, well, I hate
But
that.
Brian, what are your options?
You tell me, you just took my option away.
So your
I mean,
options
money.
are paying $300 a year for trash pickup.
Well, I got 12
Or
acres of
burning it on your
land, I can just pile it up on my own land. The only option I
But
got.
Brian, when you look at the big picture though, I mean, you see, if you were at the last meeting, you saw how much fees are going up across the board.
I
So
understand that.
that's all playing a role in this. There's gotta be give somewhere where the last town to even implement anything like this. Sometimes there has to be a little give and take on it. I agree, it is another tax, it's part of the tax base. But it's just like, kids that play for rec sports. We don't provide that for free, they charge to play rec
I pay
sports.
for that, I don't have any kids in that sports, I don't have any kids in the
But you
school.
pay a general fee, but the people that utilize it more pay more money for that, just like this would be. And it's $20 a year to help offset some of these costs. And I do think in the future, we will see a reduction in this, that maybe will reduce our taxes when it comes to the transfer station. I won't say overall taxes, but taxes from our cost of operating that transfer station.
Right,
It will help weed out all those people that pull in that shouldn't be going there.
if you get the scale, I don't think, I tell you, I don't believe that the stickers are gonna stop the out of towners from coming.
It will, because they have to have a sticker to go in. Whether we have scales or not, they'll still have to have stickers to pull into the transfer station.
We're gonna get rid of that, what's the out of towners can pay, $10 to dump a load in there or something?
We should look at that too.
Are we gonna get rid of it? How would you do it?
Yeah, I don't
I'm looking
understand
at
why
this-
we allow
I'm looking at it this
it.
way.
The day pass you're
If
talking.
you're over in Wesley and you're gonna get on those scales and pay for that, and you're a contractor, and you're doing a house. You can fill your truck up and say, yeah, I'm gonna run over to North Stonington and spend the gas and I'll dump it right there for free and nobody will
Well,
stop.
with this, we're supposed to be checking building permits, and they have to be
Could be-
in town
Could be
building
a
permits.
person from out of town here, a contractor from town. Bringing in the waste from Wesley.
But they have to say where their building permit is in North Stone.
And with your argument, Brian, if that's true, and let's say we can't cure that, we can't figure out how to cure that, we're still getting paid for it. Right now, we're not getting paid for it, and it's happening. So if we can cure it at all and get paid for it, at least it's helping us there, right? No one's gonna be able to dump for nothing, and it can't even get on the property without a sticker.
But I agree, if that $10 day pass is for out of towners, I would get rid of that, I would not allow people from out of
I don't
town.
think we need a day pass.
It's in there.
I would be interested to see if Donnie thinks we get anyone paying $10 for a day pass.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it too. I'm getting rid of it. It's only gonna add to our bulky waste. And $10 is not gonna be helping my $1.5 million.
Well, the $10, I think that's not bulky waste, it's just a matter of the trash, your garbage, and then that $10 day pass is not bulky waste.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we'll talk to them about it, but it's
I
probably,
wonder though, that if I don't have a sticker. Because I have regular trash pickup. What is that $10 a day? So I live here in town, but I pay $300 a year to have my trash picked up privately. But I wanna come, I'm doing something and I wanna come to the dump for the day. Is that what that $10 is
Yeah.
for?
It shouldn't be. I pay $450 for my trash pickup from a private hauler and I was taxed $50 by the town of Westerly to get a sticker, so, it is what it is.
I would say you just get a sticker.
Yeah, okay.
your sticker, now you're good, that's good for 2 days already, right? Just one sticker.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All right, I think it's I get it, Brian, but I think it's unfortunate. I think with what's happening in the country and prices going up, it's not near impossible. It's absolutely impossible to not have to move with that inflation.
I think it's tough to enforce them, everything's free. It's like, oh, it's free anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead, go down.
Yeah,
I think Donnie added, because I just looked on our website and the $10 fee is not on there currently, so I think he added that if that was an option, we wanted
if it
to.
was an option,
to
okay,
move With that, but
okay.
All right, so we have
All
that,
right.
we have the motion on the floor. And we're talking just about stickers, we'll discuss bulky waste, we'll get more information, get price on scales. Get more information from Diane, how it all
I'd
works.
like the truck pictures to see what we're.
Well, that's if we can't do scale, we'd nice to have pictures, because we wanna make it easy for the guys at the transfer station to distinguish
Mhm.
small, medium, large, you know, so. All right, with the motion for all, say we're all in favor of introducing $40 a year for 2 year sticker, $20 if you buy it in the second year, opposed? Okay, that'll be in effect as of July 1st.
I think our messaging is gonna be very important.
Yeah, I think that we should put something on the agenda for the future meetings to talk about different ways to either promote it. Like a Saturday here, come get your sticker, and also quarterly,
Well, some things are, I'll play the whole thing as far as
yeah.
customer service part of it, the Saturday, it's like, oh, what do we have to do?
Maybe we look at recycle bins with our 15,000, give them the revenue. It's our recycling down anyway.
Where am I now?
What's that?
I recycle them, I don't know where I got them from. Once I got them 18 years ago, 19 years ago, I moved away. I have blue in them again.
Yeah.
Is that when we went to the spring?
Yeah.
Okay, that's that. Let's just get number 12.
oh, good.
Excuse me. Don't.
So here's what my thinking is, we're still early days in the budget, right? We got presentations coming in on Wednesday, right, from the library, the ambulance, the rec. My thought is, again, we can look at this tonight, I don't know how deep you wanna get into it, I think we're all starting to get ideas on where we wanna, what movement. I have an idea on the, maybe we can go for a section and I can go by a page and I'll say, on this page, this is what my idea is, we don't have to go to anything tonight. We don't have to remove anything from the budget tonight. We don't want to, but my ideas, all ideas, press ideas, see if we're in step, if maybe we're not in step. Maybe we're gonna have to have another discussion, but how do you guys want to do this?
That's fine.
Did anyone want to make a motion to, change A 5.01 transfer station stickers to $25,000?
I would love I would love what Christine just said.
I'll second that.
I would love to add the the $25,000 revenue to, what is it, A1
5.01.
5.01.
But then we will have an increase in stickers. Cost somewhere in there.
Yeah,
It would come out of the supply line for the, transfer.
Okay,
so I made a motion.
do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Yeah, all in favor of changing the, A 5.01 transfer sticker line from $0 to $25 per hour?
Aye.
3-0, thank you. And, okay. So, let's go to B. And I want to talk about revenue for some reason.
Yeah.
we did take the de-obligated capital amount out of A 5.19 as discussed at the last
That
meeting.
was $3,226.00. Treasurer thought it was a good idea to take it out because then you leave it in there, you have to make it the following year. It's not a big number, but that's exactly why we took out the 100,000 earlier this year. It's not gonna make or break the budget, so take that out. So let's take it out and we can do is we can, when we go to the town meeting anyway on the budget, we can just do that quickly at the town vote to remove that. All right? So yeah, those funds. K and B. Is everybody like, would everybody like to start, or you want me to start, or how do you want to do this? Perfect, so we discussed a little bit last time about B 100, B 1.04, and B 1.13, which are all increases I proposed to the 15% increases for those three people. I decided in my mind, and again, it's just me, that I thought I was leaving a very important employee out of the mix, which is the the town clerk. So what I thought was instead of doing a 15-15-0, I thought maybe going 10-10-10 across the board. I did some calculations on that. If I change, forget the first line of the because that's another story. So we just go to the county generalist, the admin finance director, and the town clerk, and we changed it, go to 10-10-10 instead of 15-15-0. We actually saved $3,186 by doing that. And we're allowing our very valuable employee at town, in the state's our town clerk, to realize that how much she is appreciated, and if we lose her, we're gonna be looking at a big number. So, thoughts?
I know I mentioned to you my concern about the town clerk at the last meeting that we weren't touching her. I still think that the admin finance officer and the accounting generalist, that is still too dramatic of an increase. I looked at some other towns within 1,000-person range of us, both lower and higher. And I will say that I do think that the admin finance officer is the most out of, I won't say out of touch, but could use a bigger boost than the accounting generalist. So with that, I was thinking 8% for that, or a step up, or so there are towns that have basically a step, like a teacher. So after this many years, this is what you're doing.
In the case of that particular person, be at the highest step, she's the longest. When I was for an individual, that position right now is being filled by the longest sitting person.
Which position are we talking about? Yeah, I was talking about Christine, the admin finance officer. And
Can I ask a quick question? If we were, if the person in the admin finance officer position were to leave, and we have set that salary, and we were to get an applicant that had next to no experience and a big steep learning curve, is there a range that we look at, a mid, a minimum, a mid, and a max for a point in time and say, well, geez, you just graduated and you've only worked in this particular job and you're gonna take it, I'm gonna start you a little bit above the minimum in this wage range? Or does whoever applies for that position in the future make what is on,
Well,
in the budget.
unlike the PDZO, which is a union position, these all three are non-union positions.
Yeah.
We do it on a lot with them. So if someone was at a step, let's say at $80,000 and they left, we could advertise it at $60,000.
okay, okay. All right.
We're not locked into that number for future.
Okay,
But unlike a union position, we would be, but these are all non-union.
all right, thank you. But to that point, we don't have, if you've looked, we don't have a minimum, a mid and a max
No.
in these in these.
Well,
pay
one
scales.
position is a fairly new position where the town's only 5 years old. The other two have been here for a while, although the county general's position has somewhat changed when we went away from a full-time admin. I mean, it took full-time executive assistant, administrative assistant, mine, used to call them secretaries, and that went up to part-time. A lot of the county general took a lot of that role away, you know, they ended up taking some of that, that's why that person came out of the union at the time. When I look at, I don't wanna look at percentages, here, I'm looking at dollars. When I look at dollars, that total is about $19,000 increase to do that for three people, that's combining all three. The budget's 21 million, so we're looking at less than 1/1000th of the budget, less than 0.1% of the budget, we solidify three town hall positions in my mind. But it's in a small amount of money to do that. Let's solidify that.
I
position.
mentioned in the past. Pay doesn't always solidify.
It doesn't, but it doesn't hurt either.
Right, but we also have to look at the size of our town and what's out there. And I agree that the admin finance officer needs a decent bump up to be competitive in that range. So I saw ranges anywhere from 68,000 to 115 in our size bracket based on budget. When it comes to the accounting position, I have not seen any towns that pay even what we pay for that position in our realm.
Well, that'd be leery with Brett is when you look at other towns, sometimes it's tough to compare apples for apples because we don't have any bench, we don't have any assistants. We're asking people to do multiple jobs. I mean, so when you're asking that position, that the person is doing, they're just not doing accounting, they're doing payroll, they're doing some HR work, there's a lot, they're working on the audit, they're working directly with the school, with the business manager of the school. It's tough to just say they sit in the desk and they do accounting, right? There's a lot to that position.
No, I agree, and that's why I look at towns with similar
By the way, there's a
structures
business manager that makes a ton more than that position.
at the school, but they also are in charge of $15 million or 14 compared to 5. So
it still comes through the town.
I'm just thinking that for every other town employee that got 2.75% raise, and I understand they're in a union, it is, I don't think it's the best look for us to then say, hey, these non-union people, we're gonna give a 10% raise to when we just fought hard for the 2.75%, because everybody in this town hall is valuable, and everyone in our highway department is valuable. I mean, if you look at the town clerk, she's probably one of the most underpaid in the range. Her range is, she's at the lowest range that I saw. And there's a Plainville's hiring right now for a range of 73 to 82,000 for their town clerk. So if anyone needed a bigger jump, it'd be her.
So when looking at knowledge of the town, number of years with the town, how much it would take to replace that knowledge, which would be, we talked about this another problem, but just, again, it's a position that right now is filled by someone who has, and I'm so tough, because you don't want to talk about individuals, I get it. I'm just saying the position, the way we have it in our town, that position is one who does so much more than just within accounting guidelines, and I'll be honest with you,
But that was what the job description was when that person was hired.
I'd have
I
to
have it here, there's no difference.
but when you see what they do every day, you know there's a difference. What we have on paper, what actually happens on a daily basis is, we have people from the town garage coming in asking HR questions. We have people telling me that they're coming in asking, well, I'm short 2 hours on my pay, how am I gonna fix that? I've got people coming from town, from the Board of Ed saying, how come this number doesn't match? How come we can't do this? Can you explain this to us? So it's just. if you
But
didn't-
then, is that whose job that falls under? Because if you look at the administrator and finance officer, there's other duties. That some of that stuff falls under.
All
under
of
that.
these people we're talking about, not the people, the jobs require them to do a lot of things outside the box. I'm just saying that coming down to that 10 number, I think it's a good number to do. I'd have to be voted off that number, because I'm not gonna move off that number. I think so.
Yeah, and I would never pass a budget through the Board of Finance with that number. I can tell you right now.
Which number in particular are you talking
With even
about?
the 10% on me. And it's no offense to anyone working here. But it's really the accounting generalist position that I wrestle with. Because the majority of the ones I've seen that I look at are already about $12,000 less than we're paying right now. And I'm not saying that's great, I'm just saying already above the range.
So I personally, and I am gonna apologize because I could have done this before tonight, but I want to do my own research. To me, it's important to make sure that the positions that we have in town are competitive with what else is out there. So I want to, bless you, I want to do, so because I know that we're gonna have kind of a stalemate on section B or B 00 or B. I think that I would prefer to do some personal,
We don't do anything tonight.
yeah.
It's just.
yeah, I think for the sake of moving through it, we know where you stand, we know where you stand. I would like to do some additional, investigation and then be able to come back and say, because to me, it's all about making sure that we're competitive, because then we can speak to the union people to make sure that they understand that, well, we've done the research. This is what is out there. This is why we raised, this up. And then I think that we do have to take into consideration that there are is there a merit increase for the people? For these positions. So if there's no merit, then there's no way to compensate somebody who goes above and beyond. So we have to be competitive. And then there's a matter of compensating somebody for the work that they're doing and the quality of work that they're doing. So I kind of propose at this point that we come prepared to the next meeting when we're talking about the budget with where we all wanna, I think we all need to put numbers on the table for this group and go from there. And then we're gonna have to whittle it down or vote and see where we.
And I
Part of your investigation should be to not only see what other towns pay, but find out what the person.
What they're
position now
currently
is actually
doing. Yes,
And
I agree.
I think you also have to weigh in. You know, we talk about salaries and what people are doing, but there is a big difference between government positions and the open market position. A lot of government, state, municipal, federal jobs, the benefits provided to them are greater than what's provided in the public sector. And I know we have a great health insurance policy here, especially for our town employees. All those things need to be looked at. But I'll give you my numbers where I'm at, so you guys can have that for your next meeting. I would concede and look at 10% for the admin finance officer. But I would be at 5% for the accounting generalist.
And I'll go to town clerk.
So the town clerk, I would be anywhere between 5 and 10%. Because of the ranges that I saw, that's basically starting level is what she's at now, and she is very good at her job, and the knowledge and the amount of things that she has to do for us in the town is quite broad.
So do you want to give me a number?
I would say 10%.
Yeah, I'd say so.
All right, so we have a 10, a 5, and a 10.
And then the next thing I think we do have to look at, I know they approached you as the registrar.
We haven't got there yet, but-
Yeah, because they're all so in this,
Okay, so we've got, and I went 10, 10, 10, you went 10, 10, 10, correct?
Yes.
And then closing and come back with them.
Correct.
Okay, so, and you wanna talk about B100 now? Because I don't want, I'm not gonna talk about it, you guys can talk about it.
Please, sorry.
So. Yeah, I mean,
And I can go stay right where I am now, so.
well, that is the lowest in the realm of all the other ones I looked at too. And we have to look at it just for the future, like eventually it should be. A
I don't think it's ever gonna be at a point where someone's gonna take this position as their main income. But you can't, you're not gonna be able to support a family on, we'll never be at that level.
I don't think so either, based on the size of our town and what we do, and if we didn't have the admin finance officer, and you had assistants that did a bunch of other stuff, maybe you could make that higher, but the structure now, I can't see it going crazy, but I think you're at least bridging the gap. Getting.
Well,
it up
plus
to
we have
50%.
history of the previous first selectman was at a number, 65,000.
Right.
With benefit. And no benefit. So I didn't wanna go all the way to where that was, I figured I took nothing less on purpose, because I wanna do a year expense, say, hey, let me see if I can do this job before the town's gonna pay me more for it. But I didn't think it was fair to go all the way to that number, even such I split the difference. That's all.
Yeah,
But I mean, you can, and whatever you guys decide is fine, because I will just recuse myself from that.
I mean, I'm comfortable with what you
I'm
have here,
comfortable
if
with that
not.
too.
Okay, are we done with that part of these?
Yeah.
Close the killer bee. So let's go down to, when we get to B90.1, travel recognition. I'm gonna let you know now, we have a meeting next week, we have some outstanding bills that say, man,
boy.
and they're gonna be heftier than this is now. So I'm thinking, I'm just proposing to go from 5 to 10, they just pay 25,000, and then it got brought down each year. I think we should get at least the 10,000. Because.
Yeah.
I think that's where we need to be on it, and if you disagree, that's fine, I think we can always go for an appropriation too, if it's anything larger than that.
Did we
but-
find a new attorney?
Yeah, we're actually meeting, it's Don Bauer's, so when Don Bauer went, before he passed, there's an attorney, she was doing all the boots on the ground legwork for him. She's been there for a number of years, it should make sense for her to take over, to be the predecessor, so she's meeting with myself, he is doing myself, the mayor legend, and the first selectman Preston, either next week or the week after.
So I just asked if we are making any official changes that you want reflected in the next budget, that someone makes a motion in a second and you vote on it. Otherwise, it's purely discussion, and will not be reflected in the minutes.
So
Yeah.
I'll make a motion for B901 to go to 10,000.
I second.
Okay, so that's an actual change for now. You wanna change B100 to make that a motion now, or do you wanna wait till we do the rest of the kill bees?
No, let's wait.
Okay. Wait. I'm only doing one thing, my person, and you're not doing anything with anybody hasn't presented yet, so this is skip recreation, because they're presenting on Wednesday.
Do we have any backup on the EDC, the operating expenses? You have anything, what that was? I would just like to see what. So we have memberships, we have other things, but are they still looking to do more outreach, and where does that fall in the 4,900?
They basically plan to do the same thing that they've done the last few years, having an all boards and commissions type event. But there was no breakdown submitted from them on the 4,900.
Because one of our dues, our biggest dues went up, right?
Yes, but that's in 15.01.
Okay,
Yeah, the sector dues increased.
all right, so that's separate, okay, I see that.
And the economic development coordinator. That's new, that's in addition to what, Ivana is doing.
So there's 6,000 in there for Ivana, and then there's 4,500
Oh,
in there
that's the consultant.
consultant.
Sorry,
for the
okay,
update to
gotcha.
the plan.
Okay,
And then on page one.
no, I'm all set.
So I want to change on page one at this point is a travel. Right?
Yes.
Page two. First I come to, I want to talk about the social service and welfare. There, page 43. You see this?
Not me, my readers. It's all over.
My only thought on this one is two actually. B2303, which is Portrait Neighborhood Center, they're wonderful, they do great work. We gave them $30,000 last year, they're asking for 40. We also gave them ARPA money last year because we had to give to them. I'm proposing that we drop their ask from 40 back down to 30.
I actually agree with
I
that.
agree. I'll make a motion.
I second.
Okay, so all they were dropping the Portrait Neighborhood Center from 40 down to 30, say aye.
Aye.
Franco Lean, they just haven't requested yet.
Correct.
Yeah,
Anything that's highlighted in here is subject to change, whether because there's still contract negotiations or we haven't received it.
Okay, the other one I wanted to talk about the change possibly is 23.17. That's United Community and Family Services. They were at 35.64. Last year we gave them extra money because of ARPA. We gave them, I think, $5,000. We don't have that money to give them this year. If we turn out that we have money left over that we want to give to some of these groups, we can. But right now, we haven't decided what we want to do with the leftover ARPA funds. So my proposal is to drop to 44.96 and go back to where they were last year, 35.64.
I'll second.
I'll second.
So the first and the second, somewhere over there.
Yep.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye, okay.
What about TVCCA?
So TVCCA, is a group that does Meals for Wheels. We use them a lot. Teresa works with them an awful lot. They do, I can't tell you exactly how many people in town, but it's quite a few people in town, and they also do eat assistance.
Okay,
We send people to them all the time, and we eat assistance.
all right.
I mean, I think that's reasonable.
And then the hospitality center, London Hospitality Center, $1,000 increase. What do we utilize it on? What's our town?
I missed that one.
Was that like the warm shelter?
So I missed that, Brett, and if I would have called it, I would have dropped it back
Yeah,
down to last year.
I'll make a motion to drop them back down to 1,000.
Second.
At least they, a bunch of charity stuff at home. And so we're waiting for the, medical liens and Safe Futures is only $250. TVCCA, like I said, the use has gone up, especially with the price of oil. Luckily, we've had a mild winter. If this was not a mild winter, these things would have been upside down this year, these oil prices.
Christine, I have a question about a grant, and I don't know if it's in here, but I found it online when I was researching something else. It's the Connecticut Grant Program to support the services of local substance use disorder prevention. We got like $2,700. Does that go to us or the school?
I don't,
It's
think
for like anti-drinking, anti-smoking.
that doesn't come to us.
Okay. It's just listed as Norris Stone. I saw Norwich utilizes to do public outreach through the town.
Yeah, I'm not aware of us receiving that, but I can just do some research for you.
All right, I'll send you over a picture of
That'd be great.
it.
The number of people helped by TVCCA, for the Connecticut Emergency Assistance Program, it's 103 people in North Stonington alone. The nutrition program, senior nutrition, Meals on Wheels is 11 people. And then women, infants and children is 32. They helped 5 people with tax preparation services. CSBG case management, 8 people. And then they also help people in the employment and training programs, early childhood education, and housing services. So the value of the services that they offered to North Stonington was $227,069. Just going back to that.
And then the giving closet that we have, it's run by residents, we just give them the space. So we are providing them space.
Yeah, we actually traded off that space that we're not charging the footage for the town or for the school, keeping the meeting room clean.
Okay, I think they're doing a great job over there, no, I just wanna.
Okay.
See.
That was a trade-off. Okay, I've got nothing else on this page.
I'm also,
Yeah, and then enough page.
Did we get any closer numbers on the state troopers then?
Not until later this month.
Okay. The operating expenses 1,000 for the public safety, what's the extra 1,000?
So the veterinary, that's for, animal control, that's our operating line. The veterinary bills have been higher over the past year, so we've increased it to help with that. So the $1,200 for the Stonington rental comes out of that line, any equipment that she needs, and, the veterinary bills. Yeah, I need to relabel that line so that it's clear.
Yeah, so then we know what it's operating.
Yeah. Because even when you said it, I'm like, wait, what line? So I will fix that for the next draft.
H5, I'm looking at, inclusive.
Yeah. We talk about, the town property maintenance. Can you tell me what? I know that we have more properties, but that's a big increase. So what is different from last year? What exactly is different that?
Okay, so we've eliminated the $8,000 in town property maintenance
Oh,
labor.
I'm sorry,
So
we
that-
talked about this last time.
Well, no, let me explain it again. And then we had 30,000 in capital
Yeah.
that we were using for whatever broke. We want to make the capital funds more intentional for a planned project. We're looking at parking lots. And so this would give us the 30,000 there for any
Gotcha.
larger than $1,000 repairs to any of the buildings that the town has to maintain.
Okay.
So I know it looks like a big number, but
Thank you. I remember that from last meeting.
The tree maintenance, so we went up from 21, 22, from 10,000 to 20,000, keeping it at 20. What did we spend here today?
You don't have this off the top of your head.
Is there are we still behind on trees or what?
I think we've spent over half of it already. Let me look at the last report I mailed. I emailed you guys.
Yeah.
And I did have, Alan up on Ledgewood the other day because these trees are close to the road, there's been a couple of that.
Yeah.
So, and today we were looking at trees, so. It seems like the never ending thing on its own.
Yeah, I think that all of the dead gypsy moth trees that remained standing for a year or two afterwards are gonna be a threat.
We have
I've
also,
referred someone to Alan about gypsy,
Yeah,
the tree damage,
Well-
the ash trees on the lab.
but did we ever address the trees that are next to the cell tower across the street from the right?
addressed with them by me via email, but, it's time to.
Okay,
But Eversource does occasionally ask me if there's any concern, so.
okay,
When we get to a state road, it's a whole different ballgame.
yeah.
So we've already spent 12,000 as of November. I'm just gonna verify, but I'm almost positive that we did spend all 20,000 last year.
We did a lot of trees up near, up near the minor farm past John Edwards on, Chester, Maine last year. We had to contract out for a big tree that was in the village, green in the village. And we can't, when there's a tree that's too big, we just can't do it. We have to
Yeah.
contract out for it.
We did tree work and took it out of another line item. That was why. That's why that line is only at 10,000 for last year. We took it out,
The
yeah,
year before.
2 years ago.
last year.
No, last year we got 20,000 in that line.
No, current year, we have 20,000 budgeted. Last year, we spent
Oh,
10,000.
yeah, 22,
This is past, present, and future.
yeah,
The other last year.
yeah.
Um, So we used, Town Aid Road state funds to finish the tree work last year. So that's why that line, 'cause I'm like, no, we definitely did lots of tree work. That's right.
Yeah, and then the B30 cemeteries, I know last year there was an issue where after we passed, they went to Board of Finance,
Yeah,
and we had that increase. So do they feel comfortable that this 8,000 is?
Yes, I had conversations with both their chair and their treasurer. They are confident in the 8,000.
What they're doing too, Brett, I think I mentioned last year, it's not just, it used to be just mowing and cleaning, and now they're doing restoration work, or fixing stones and. Actually, it's probably back to the movers we've had in a while.
So are we waiting until the library presents to have that discussion?
I think it's, in my mind, it's only fair if someone pays off.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
And then the weed control, that's every year, right, on the lakes?
Yes,
what number are you at?
Don't we get some state money, or
No.
didn't we?
we had a private grant from the, Community Foundation, Eastern Connecticut Community Foundation, for 16,000. And so that was a matching, so we had to put the 15, they gave us 16, but that was a one-time.
So do we need 30,000 to do these, or we?
That was prior.
Okay,
So for future, we are looking for 15,005 per lake. We haven't applied for any more grant funds, because this year we are finishing spending on Wyatha Lake, the grant funds from prior.
and that's just it's 5,000 per lake.
okay.
Yeah, they were hoping because they treated with a different type of product that it would have more of a lasting effect. But that what they're finding is now there's a different weed they need to treat for.
Page 7. I have nothing on this page. But tonight. Get on page 7? But page 8.
They did.
Well, I have some, obviously, my idea, my suggestion on this.
All right, let's hear it.
C 1.21. I'd like to cut both of the F-250s out of the budget for this year. I talked to the foreman about it. So we really need to get the second half of the rolling floor trailer that we found some half last year, which should be really 40% because it went up by 10,000. And I think that's important that we talk about the loader for the transfer station because he's been asking for it for a number of years. That was actually the truck, if you remember, 3 years ago, that was going to be replaced by the electric truck if we decided to go that route. So it's been on the books for quite a while. It gets bumped off. I think in his presentation, he said that it was going to be, it's tough to get parts for. Keep putting Band-Aids on it and it leaks. And I think every once in a while, the town has to make a commitment to a major purchase of a truck that's gonna last us 25 years. And this truck is, remember what year this truck was? Wasn't it 1990 something, 1990?
98.
For the front.
So my thought is, and I said then if we waited on the 250s, maybe do one next year and 1 year after. If that makes sense, we can get another year out of the truck to move people, move equipment around. We won't have plows on them, but we have plows on our other truck. And I just thought that would be a way to cut 78,000 out of the capital budget without taking a step backwards, because we're still improving in two of the areas. So that's my thought. Just on the highway.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I was thinking leave one in, but if you want not to,
We thought he could get by with them, we'd take them up and out and I said, important, in importance, how we get listed down here. And he said that the road flush truck is so important. And then the loader has been there for so many years and it's just on its last leg, so.
So were you suggesting taking out the two pickup trucks for 78,000? And are you suggesting that it just makes the walking floor trailer and the front end loader more palatable to do? Or are you talking about taking any of that money and putting it towards those two things, C203 and 04?
I think it makes it more palatable, by
Okay.
taking those out, that the other two things can live. The one that we already put 40% in on, and it was 50% last year, now it's 40% of the first floor. I think we almost committed that truck.
Yeah,
Yeah, we do, I think when we
Yeah.
made that choice, we committed.
yeah.
And honestly, that's what I was hoping to do with the front end loader. Break it over 2 years.
That's the
I-
whole thing right now.
Yeah, I do see the potential need for it, but I also think we can,
You think we go one more
I think
year?
we can get another year out of it.
And we say, don't forget, it's a year starting July 1st.
Right.
So is we're in, the year
It's a year and a half,
now,
then.
it's not this calendar year, it starts July 1st, so it's really gonna be a year and a half,
Yeah.
right? So it would be in the 2024 budget, which means we could buy it in July of 2024 if it passes next year's budget.
So that's what I'm thinking, and I feel like if there was a major emergency and it died, at least we have half in the budget, and then we can
Use,
So that was
figure out
about
the other half, maybe we get our
$200,000.
state money.
So would you say we put 100,000 in for that loader?
Yeah, I'll put 100,000 in for the loader.
so
And
take out,
commit to it like we did with the walking trailer.
so take out the two pickup trucks
Really?
and then, cut the front end loader to 100,000, is what you're saying?
That's what I was.
And leave the walking floor trailer as it
Correct.
is. And with that, if we put the 57 and change towards it, when can we purchase it?
July 1st.
We could purchase it, we would have the money to purchase it July 1st. Yeah, I'm in favor of that. You want me to make motions for all of that?
Sure.
I'll make a motion to remove the $78,000 out of C1.21 replacement and upgrade of the two pickup trucks.
Do one by line, so
Okay,
I'll second the motion. Any discussion?
Just remember, by removing that, you'll take out 15,000 from revenue for sale of trucks.
Understood,
Oh, okay.
understood. Which we were hoping would be at 15,000.
Yes,
So, all in favor, say aye.
fine.
All right, so that's out. And the other line, vote.
So I'll make a motion to on C 2.04, the front end loader, to change that from $203,011 to $100,000 even.
Got two seconds.
Yep. Second.
Feed me Seymour.
Phone's down.
And so we have a motion to reduce that from 203,011,100 down to 100,000. Any other discussion? None, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Do
Okay,
we need to make a motion to remove the 15,000 in revenue?
nope, that this will have to happen anyway, so.
Okay, all
okay,
right.
the next section,
I will bring up the land acquisition fund.
what do you want to do with it?
What number are you on?
Steve, please.
315. What's the total we have in there right now?
75,000.
So I would motion to reduce it to 5,000. It will give us even 80,000 in there. And I understand where Bill was coming from with his presentation, and I agree to a certain extent, but like I stated, I don't think we should keep building without a huge plan for it. And pre-taxing, and the point that we have to go to Board of Finance and the town for even a dollar that we spend out there is cumbersome. So I was trying to find a nice balance. So a little more than last year.
Last year we only put in 2,000, that was just bringing up to a round number of 75, so bringing to a round number of 30. There. Thoughts, I'll take that one. Thoughts, Nicole, or discussion?
I just keep going back to Hewitt Farm. And if we didn't, I mean, yes, I understand that we could use undesignated money, right? If something perfect came about, and we wanted to purchase it for the town, or to even worse, prevent somebody else from getting it and doing something with it that we didn't want. So I do see the need. It is an increase from what they got last year.
The one I'd say about that, Hewitt Farm is like the perfect piece of property, it's in the middle of town, there's only one Hewitt Farm. There's no, I'm thinking about the town, where would it be, I mean, that offers so much for community access. We heard tonight from the Hewitt Farm, all the things that are happening there. I don't know if there's another Hewitt Farm in town.
No.
And out of the 600,000 we paid, only 100, a little over 100 came out of this fund, I think it was.
Well, that's because it probably wasn't anything.
Right, I think we used it all, yeah. So I think we would do the same if we found another. I just think with all the other things that we're going through, and who knows what the Board of Ed budget's gonna look like, I really worry about our tax increases to our residents. So wherever we can shave a little is what I'm trying to do, but still give something and more than we did last year.
Basically, it's an increase of $3,000 from last year's budget.
To
The savings account. I would feel better if we didn't have to go through a town meeting we had something in there where it was a dollar value, but that makes it really cumbersome.
We're gonna buy land, so lease land's gonna go to town meeting anyway.
But if we had to maintain anything out of this account, that we can with that fund, it's gotta go to a town meeting.
I mean, you can make an ordinance change,
Yeah,
so that's something to look at as well.
So this line item can only be used to purchase
or maintain,
Or maybe,
or maintain.
but it all has to go to a town meeting, whether it's a dollar.
yeah, it has to go through 824 review for planning and zoning, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, town meeting. So
That all just changed about 3 or 4 years ago, I think, 3 years ago. wasn't it?
it was written then, yeah, we didn't have it.
No,
prior.
okay.
There were loose policies.
So, any discussion? Okay, all in favor of reducing land acquisition number C3.15 from 10,000 to 5,000, say aye. Aye.
Okay, I need to just share information that I was just given on C 3.54 North Stonington Volunteer Fire Company Service Truck. It can be reduced to 45,000 to go with an F-250 instead of a 350 and would need additional funds for lights and lettering, which is why it's 45,000 instead of 40. So just passing that information along.
Cause I was gonna make that.
Yeah.
And anyways, we go back to this.
Whatever needed to get that, so that's good. Hot off the press.
Yeah,
Yes.
I still wrestle with that a little bit, but I understand the need,
So not forcing you to skip ahead, just
So
when
that-
you get there.
All right, so, but that's okay, we're on that now, so. And I was gonna go in the same direction, see if we've not gotten to it, F-250 and get it with the utility. Compartments on the sides, correct?
right, in the plow,
And then plow,
so they said.
so it'd be around $45,000.
45,000 because they need the special lights and lettering and radios.
Yeah, so I'm not opposed to doing that, I think that. So there's gonna be a compromise, like what we've done all the way through.
Will they then plow their own,
So I think,
Charlie, I see you on there, can you plow your own, center?
so I think that's a good compromise. So the one I'm gonna have the problem is on the ladder truck, and I'll tell you why. It's we've heard the arguments on the ladder truck, for and against. But the thing that the chief brought up in the last meeting was the other truck that we saw when we did the walk through the fire station last year. The $1 million plus truck that we're gonna be looking for next year. I was thinking, if we're gonna stop putting money away for a truck, we're gonna stop putting money away for that truck. And for a ladder truck, a truck that we know we use all the time, a truck that's could be the most important truck in the firehouse. I think I would rather save for that than a truck that we may or may not use on a regular basis. A truck that there is some opposition for, we heard it at the last meeting, questions to be answered. I think that to go out and get a used ladder truck, which I understand, that we can do that. But when we looked at the last meeting, we talked about older trucks and trying to stay away from older trucks. If we buy an older ladder truck, how much longer will it be before we have to start getting new equipment for that truck and fixing that truck and then eventually getting a new ladder truck? So I'm not saying that the town probably could use a small ladder, which they call a quint. I think that the town probably could use that. Town could also probably use 2 other fire stations in town, one in Foxwell and one in Beside Hill. I mean, the size of this town and we only have 1 fire station, but that's a discussion for another day. I would love to see that someday. But in the meantime, trying to be as fiscally responsible as possible, and with the chief saying he needs this other truck that's so important to them. And it's an expensive truck, then why wouldn't we think about putting away for that truck? So I'm not opposed to putting the $75,000 away, but I am for the ladder truck, when I know this other truck's coming around the corner.
So when I listened to his presentation, I heard him say, we don't want to have to rely on Stonington, or Mashantucket for the ladder trucks. But I also heard that we have a good relationship with them. They always respond.
They do it, no, listen, that ladder truck's a much bigger truck than what we have. That ladder truck probably works fine on anything on Route 2, whether it be a school, the hotels, even Mystic Pizza 2 building that's tall. The problem with the big ladder, it doesn't get on the back roads, if you have a chimney fire.
But why would you need it? Why would you need a ladder truck for a regular house? He said our current ladder goes up to the 3rd floor window at Bellissimo, isn't that what he said?
You're talking about the ladders that are right on the side of the truck, the
Yes.
manual ladders? I think they basically go to the 2nd floor window. They won't go to the 3rd floor.
No, I know. Yeah,
But if we have mutual aid and those buildings where we need a ladder truck. The ones that we get from Pawcatuck or Mashantucket can go, those are big parking lots right in the main
Yeah.
drive. I think he's more concerned with the back roads, and if he needed a ladder truck down on those roads. But I'm not so certain we need one of those on a regular basis. We know we need this one truck.
yeah.
It's probably it's one of the top 2 most important trucks in the fleet.
So are you suggesting that you take the 75,000 out for the ladder truck and redeploy it to put it away for capital for the one that we do have to replace in a couple of years? Or cut it completely, cut the 75,000 completely out?
But I would consider putting it in for the truck that we're gonna have to pay $1 million for in a year or 2.
Yeah, so we don't have a capital line item for that right now, that we've been putting money away.
No, but-
5 years, something.
But it's not an established
It's not an
account.
account.
So what you could do is you could rename, because it hasn't been voted on yet, you could rename C 3.53 to NSVFC rescue truck instead of ladder truck and repurpose that.
Could we repurpose it at 50,000 and put 50 away?
Did we vote on the other truck yet?
Which one?
No motion has been made.
Okay.
The last motion was on the land acquisition.
Let's go back to the service truck, let's go.
Oh, sorry. Chief's on, right?
Yeah.
Can I ask him a question? Chief?
Sure. Yep, I'm on. I can't hear anybody.
How about
Now,
now?
now I can hear you.
All right, I don't know if you saw that Hopkinton just got a pickup truck for their ambulance.
No.
When I saw that, I was wondering if it's something that we can maybe incorporate into this truck as well, if we're not gonna be utilizing it all the time to pull the four-wheeler and the boat. What it is, I'll read it to you. They call it Squad 300, and they bought a Chevy. But it's a non-transporting ambulance. It's used primarily as support vehicle to transport personnel to and from scenes for ALS intercepts and first response to scenes when a mutual aid ambulance is responding from another town. Squad 300 has all the same equipment and medications as a transporting ambulance, minus the stretcher and stair chair. They got some money from ARPA, but basically they bought a 2014 Silverado with a cab on the back. I was wondering, we talk about all our services that we provide, is that something that we could utilize our truck as well?
So the ambulance already has their own vehicle that does that. They have the Explorer that carries all the medical equipment, basically an ambulance carries minus the transport. So they've already purchased their own vehicle for that.
Okay.
I just had a question.
Chief or to us?
No, just in general.
Thanks, Chief.
So. So the ARPA funds that we have left, we have 61,000 and change right now. And then we don't know what's gonna be left over from the demolition and what if anything would go back. So let's just say we have the 61,000. I'm not suggesting that we use the entire thing, but would something like the ladder truck be within
So you
the
can't,
requirements?
you can't use this to save, you can't use the ARPA funds to save towards something, because they have to be expended by a certain date.
Gotcha, okay, sorry, yeah.
If it was something that was going to be purchased next year, yes, but if you're looking to save money towards a future,
Okay.
no.
And then, since we have Chief on, is it worth asking about putting, if we're not putting it towards the ladder truck, putting it towards that other? I hate to just put money on the line item and the chief not have a.
What during my presentation I explained was the purchase of the ladder truck. Actually, today I did forward some trucks that were available today. One was $50,000 for a ladder truck, and another was $150,000 for a used ladder. But during my conversation with the budget proposal was we were not going to come in for a new rescue truck for the $1.3 million. We were going to refurb it. I had a meeting with the refurb company the other day, and they have not gone over they say they haven't gone over $300,000 on a refurb before. So the worst case scenario, I mean, there's always problems, but they said $300,000 would be the refurb of the rescue truck.
And Charlie, what year had you projected that you would do that refurb?
We were looking at least 2 years out. Not this, obviously not this budget, discuss it next budget, hopefully get it, or the following budget.
Charlie, the ladder truck that you saw for 50,000,
Yep.
was that something that met your needs?
Yeah, so I looked at it today. It's a 78-foot quint, which is an engine pumper with a ladder on it. It carries 500 gallons of water. It was a 97. It's the identical truck that we have, a current engine tube, but a ladder on top of it. Looked at it, got some pictures and stuff of it today, and the thing's in really good shape. But our issue is, like I said during the conversation, if you don't have money in hand, it's hard. That truck will be gone in a week or two. Same as like the 100, the ones that are good, they're going to be bought up fast. So when we get to these situations is we need to have something approved. So if we do find something that works for us, we can get it. That's where we're really in a tough spot.
I hear you. I mean, I love that idea of a $50,000 one if we go, too bad I don't know if there's a way to process quickly, but
Chief, you can't spend it until, we can tell we have the money, but you can't process it until July first, right?
that's we.
But chief, if you had, a $50,000 ladder truck. What additional expenses would there be to the town besides, I mean, you could just get it, start using and driving it, right? There'd be some retrofitting or something to be done to it or not?
So right off the bat, when it comes in, you're gonna do a ladder test. That's about $1,000. Make sure the ladder is in safe and condition. They're gonna test anyways before you accept it, because I'm not buying something that the ladder's not good. Then you would, we could letter it, put it in service, but then you'd look at making it match, because they're all red, everything online right now, all our trucks are white. So it would be eventually need a paint job. That would probably be about $50,000-$60,000, and then that's basically it in annual maintenance like every other truck gets.
So we couldn't live with it red and save $50,000?
I could live for it with red. Trust me, I could live with it red, which is not gonna match, but no, we could discuss that at a later date, but getting it in the door is the most important thing.
So it almost sounds like the paint job was more than the truck.
I know. So.
Oh, yeah. By the time you did something like that, it gets pricey when they rip the whole truck apart to paint them.
So I'm sure that you are kind of constantly searching these sites, looking for these opportunities. How
Right.
often do you come upon something like at that price?
I've been on this for a few years, and recently, from the past, there was a lot available, but over the last year and a half, it's gone down since the fire apparatus industry prices have skyrocketed. Used trucks are becoming less and less available. So now this was one of the only truck I could find at that price off of 4 different sites. And this is actually a truck in Connecticut.
Don't forget too, that even if we approve to put 50,000 on that line tonight,
They can't use it until July, you're saying?
oh, plus the budget has to be passed.
Yeah.
Or they can go to the undesignated, if they found a real good deal, they can go Board of Finance undesignated town meeting.
Okay, and with as quickly as he's saying that these things fly, I don't know if that would, I mean, I think he's right, unless he's got money in a line item that he can access quickly. The whole Board of Finance presentation and town meeting is.
Yeah, so could we, if we think about what you said, Bob, and put that towards the rescue truck, is there a way to write a line item that it could be used for one or the other? Fire apparatus, and then if something like this came about, then we can go through the process of saying, approving it as a purchase for a ladder truck at $50,000.
I'm going to say technically, probably.
Technically, because I would be open for something like that, that gives a little leeway. If something were to come about that,
So we put in $50,000 in the
Yeah.
line item for fire apparatus. And we put it towards so let's say you found a ladder truck for $85,000, we were at 51, this happens in Oregon. And now it's 35,000, right? The same token, if we don't find the right ladder truck that he wants, we have 50,000 towards the refurb of the.
right,
Yeah.
it's not wasted, it's going towards the fire company's needs in one place or another.
Why don't we give that a little bit more thought? Why don't we at least put to bed, I think we all agree on the service truck, or don't we? We haven't able that, we have boards to change that to a 45,000.
Yeah, I mean, I was hesitant of just putting that out there since they didn't necessarily have one prior, but listening to the chief's argument for it, I understand the need, and if he adamantly, and chief's a taxpayer here too, if he thinks that's a good use of funds that the fire department needs, then I would keep that in.
So we're reducing that line item from 65 to 45,000, you're getting a new 250 versus a 350.
Right, for the state bid.
That would be fine with me. At least go there.
Okay,
Yeah, so I'll make that motion.
Okay, good.
I'll second.
So motion made by Brett,
Was it 45 even?
yes. Motion made by Brad, seconded by Nicole, that we will take the $65,000 line item for the service truck, which was, what is that?
C 3.54.
C 3.54, reduce it to $45,000. Because the chiefest told us he'd go to, could use a 250 versus a 350. Okay,
And we're gonna defer the ladder truck.
and we'll have a separate line, so we'll do that one, we just, let's go on this one.
Oh, okay, sorry.
All in favor of the service truck. At that, we're
Aye.
reducing to 65 to 45, say aye.
I,
That's it, okay. So that's done. So we'll see if that makes it to the next, well, I'd say as far as the deferring money, the ladder truck, the R1, refurbishing there, I think I need a little bit more time to think about that. And I probably want to sit with the chief again too, and just get a little bit more insight. Unfortunately, if he finds the truck of his dreams in the next week, I have no way to buy it. And even if we wanted to call a town meeting, that doesn't happen in a day.
you could put a deposit in, then go ARPA. Just saying, there are ways.
The ambulance, company
Present.
presents separately, right? Okay, then I'll defer my questions on that. Oh my, God, was that the last page?
You got the changes on that?
I have the changes, but did you want to talk about flight and mapping?
Yeah. So flight mapping, I think we can hold off at this point. We don't have a PDPO. And then we get a new planning and zoning.
349.
Once we get a new planning and zoning, PDZO in there, planning and zoning, what's wrong, so, I'd like to see, ask them how they wanna go about this. We know Groton's go doing, flight and mapping in 2005. When Nate was saying he was talking possibly doing something regional with them. In the meantime, we think that the state has just done it again in 2022. So the last time they did it, that we have their maps are from 2019. So these would be an upgraded state maps. They're done a little higher than they are. They're, you don't pay as much, or it'd be probably $200 to get, I think, $300 to get state maps. They're not as precise as having your own done at a lower altitude.
But is it needed? I mean, Google mapping is pretty precise, like you can tell what kind of cars are in there.
Yeah, but it's plus or minus 50, 10 down the line, and it only gets, then you gotta get a surveyor anyway, to get solved the property, but I think we could take the 15,000 out for now. And then when we get into a position where hopefully that man use all this, has something in there, we can discuss how he or she would like to do it. My thought.
Is that gonna be too late to get, okay. All right, we have to make a motion to remove it. I'll make a motion, to remove the $15,000 out of C 3.49 flight and mapping for now.
And I'll second that.
Procedurally, do we actually have to make motions if we never voted on this in the first place?
So to make it cleaner for the minutes, that's why we're doing it, because you put motions and votes in minutes. You don't put discussion in minutes. So technically, probably not, but
Yeah, I think it's good as far as transparency, right? When we discussed it, we voted and took it out, and I think that's it for the budget, Steve. Is there something that someone in the audience would like to say about the budget? Sure.
Jennifer Dayton, also board member of East North Burlington and Affordable. I just want to thank you so much for the line items for the KINSA and for affordable housing. It's so important, not only to the town, but the region and to economic development. And I'd also like to say one more thing, which doesn't take away anything I've said. I'm extremely grateful. If there's excess ARPA funds, we need seed money to bring to you as a board a real proposal. That means hiring someone to do the site plan, to do the building plans. And I think that would be a great use of ARPA funds for your board to fully consider a good plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think when we do have a bucket of ARPA funds left, once the demolition is in, we see if there's any money coming back, or worst case, going out. We know we have what's left, and then we'll have it probably have some sort of a hearing on, like we did before.
Right,
I won't go through a community conversation because it's only 60,000 or somewhere on that. But to get input from people on where it'd be best at, and so
right,
I'd rather get input than just us decide what we think's best, so, but thank you.
okay.
All I want to say is the same as Jennifer. Thank you for your support. It is so meaningful for us to have that support. As we're working now on a grant, we can say we have been supported by the town of North Stonington, and that goes a long way. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Brian?
Yeah, I'm not totally on board with the KNSA, but I think a lot of people think it's the Affordable Housing Committee. It's a nonprofit, from what I understand, and I don't see a lot of communication going back and forth between the Affordable Housing and the KNSA. I know that they've been working on that house down in Clark Falls, and I'm not a big supporter of changing deeds. And I understand they changed the deed, went to the state and changed it. To me, that's not being open and not being, what do you call it? I know you used the term a lot of times.
Transparency?
Yeah, yeah. And, being a nonprofit, I think, I don't, and even I said it at the other meeting too, I don't even think the affordable housing should have a budget, a line item. The way I understand it, I think I explained it before, and I'll explain it, I'll just say it again. That any of these groups that need money should be, having their presentation ready for the selectmen during a year sometime. If they need money, they go to the board of selectmen, request it, and I believe the board of selectmen can go to the board of finance with them. I'm sure they would show up and, then ask for the money to come out of the general fund or whatever. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Other than I think it would help show the town that there's an affordable housing committee and there's a non-profit committee. Now, a lot of them were on affordable housing a while back, and they split off. And it's kind of funny, I got on it and I don't see any of them coming to the meeting now.
It was just an affordable housing event, and I saw 5 or 6 people there from KNSA last Monday, right? So I think one of my goals is to have the two groups do more things together and talk more, because isn't the bottom line is they're both striving to do the same thing. So, yes, one's an advisory board to the board of selectmen, one's a nonprofit, but they're still trying to go in the same direction. And I'm trying to have more communication. I know that I've seen people at KNSA at events for affordable, I've seen people for affordable at KNSA events. So it's all about communication, and they're trying to go in the same direction. But I understand what you're saying.
And it's tricky.
But it's sometimes, but I that's what you say, but I think that the town in general understands that there is more need for housing. So they call it affordable housing, so there's more need for housing that's affordable in this town. Would you agree?
I don't agree. I think we have our affordable housing in town.
Well,
And according to 830G, we
if
don't.
nobody else wanted to buy a house in town, then I'd say you're right. If there's not one person wanted to buy a house in North Stonington, then you're probably correct. We don't need any more. But I'm gonna say that even if every house in Cedar Ridge and Kingswood was made affordable tomorrow, which means we have all these affordable homes, and there's no more 10% rule, because we satisfied it, that doesn't give us even one more house in town. Correct? All we do is satisfy the 10% rule.
I don't believe we need any more.
What if, all right, so what if some of that family member of yours wanted to move into town and they couldn't find a house they could afford? Would you want there to be a house that they could afford, they could move into town and be next to their relative?
They have to do just like everybody else, just work hard to get it. If they
But
find
there
a
is
house.
nothing, Brian. So I am a
Houses,
perfect
there was a
example.
foreclosure right in the village here just recently.
So my daughter, born and raised in North Stonington, graduated from North Stonington schools. They moved away, my husband, my daughter and her husband, for a year and a half. They've been looking for something affordable in North Stonington because they want to raise their son in North Stonington at North Stonington schools. And they've had to buy a house in Stonington, a huge fixer-upper. I'll be calling on everybody to help us with that, just to get back home, to save money so that they can get back to North Stonington, but there's nothing.
One
Nothing.
right across from the Grange just sold for $250. People just gotta look,
Yeah.
they gotta do the legwork.
Oh, they have been. They have been.
Thank you.
Can I just add to this conversation? The committee is the policy arm of the government, it's you. The committee should be recommending to you what affordable housing should be. HINSA was developed out of the Affordable Housing Committee to be the doer. In other words, to take advantage of grants and whatever is out there to build affordable housing. So there's not cross purposes. There should be, you know, a clarity of the roles of the two organizations. And I think, I don't know, it seems like that's gotten a little blurred.
Well, the roles may be different, but the goals should be the same.
The goals are absolutely the same.
Okay, so it's just.
The Affordable Housing Committee has no way to move forward actively to acquire or build or rehabilitate affordable housing. KINSA does, but they should be working together. The Affordable Housing Committee recommending to the government as an arm of the government of the North. The KNSA being the action arm. I mean, the goals are the same.
Thank you for
And,
clarifying.
I think if you blur them, then you see conflict, but there is really no conflict because they're
Same goal.
taking different paths to get to the same goal.
That's why there are certain towns that got rid of their affordable housing committees, it's town run, and they just donate more to a nonprofit. I think Stonington does that, and a few
Yeah,
other
they do.
surrounding towns.
Right,
Because that gives them the power to actually go do something.
do
So
so.
there is a difference. I think sometimes, I'm glad you clarified it too, because even in my mind, sometimes.
Yeah, it can be confusing, but, you know, in my mind, since I've lived through it, it's very clear, very clear.
Oh, the 830G. You read the 830G, then you'll see exactly where it's supposed to be, the affordable office. As far as I'm concerned, when I'm on it, my job at Affordable Housing Committee is to let the town know what that 830G means. What it says. Doesn't say you have to build housing. Just says our job is to say, we are the ones that's supposed to show you what it says. In other words, it says in there, the plan of our town. What is the plan of our town? And if we follow 830G, that's all it tells us to do, it tells us to build houses. The KNSA builds houses, that's more power to them. I mean, I think if we were all at the meeting when we found out 10%, it's just a.
And I said, Brian, I don't care about the 10%. I don't like copy telling what to do either. But if we took all those houses today and made them all affordable, got rid of deed restrictions, okay, every house in Kingswood is affordable, every house in Cedarwood is affordable. We don't have any more houses. We have the same amount of houses today as we do tomorrow. We still need more.
They come up for sale, like I say,
They do, but there's.
stepping right up the road.
That's if they don't home. You say when one comes up for sale, maybe you can get it. But that's one comes up for sale. But there's people that wanna move into a town, people wanna
There's
move
20
back. in
people
town.
bidding for that
People
one
wanna
house.
stay in town. Yeah, if you get 20 people bidding on a house, it's not as affordable anymore, is it?
Exactly.
Like,
So,
we talk about the seniors, I mean, how many seniors want to stay in town and can't afford it anymore? Or don't want to do all the maintenance on their home and would like a place for
we're gonna hear
live.
We're just gonna hear.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
All right,
Things are
we're
cheap,
gonna-
and I
Yeah, this is the longest that we have another time, I'm sure. You can go over saying tomorrow if you want, we'll have a discussion. 'Cause I'm there.
We can have a affordable housing, talk like Hewitt did, about what they know.
Oh, they are, they have to, they're one of the group that has to.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
So we're,
So tax refunds were.
no time before this evening, we're gonna push.
No.
We're gonna,
Well, I've been doing this.
we're gonna do minutes and.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the town of North Stonington Board of Selectmen special meeting at the North Stonington Community Center and via Zoom on February 1st, 2023 at 7 p.m. as written.
Second.
All right, second, perfect. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That, going back.
Oh, we have enough.
There's two sets.
January 24th.
I only have, one set in my packet. But I will make a motion to approve. No, I'm good. I'll make a blind motion to approve the January 24th, 2023.
No, those are, that's.
No. Board of Selectmen meeting, at, 6:30 p.m. at the North Stonington Education Center and via Zoom.
Second.
Perfect. All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Okay, our next meeting is Wednesday, the 15th. This is joint meeting with the Board of Finance. We'll be presenting from, we're going to present library and what's saying, right?
Very quick for you on that. Yeah. Will we get the audit report sent to us prior to that? So we can follow along? Okay. perfect.
Yeah, oh yeah, the also, yes, we'll have that, you'll have that.
And they'll be, they're mailing us paper copies, so I'm gonna send a digital, but they're mailing us paper copies, and I'll let you know when paper copies come in case you wanna come pick it up.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
It's a very exciting meeting.
I second that motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We'll be adjourning at 9:30.
I don't think that I have the energy